stayed up?
I stayed up, Tom.
I know Casey stayed up.
I stayed up.
Even through the Cowboys marketing machine, they had to milk every last second to make that pick a couple of spots in front of the Bengals. Well, by the time we got there, oh boy, all the drama was there, right? Video of Michael Mayer and his family right across the river in Independence, Kentucky, no doubt anticipating that his childhood dream of playing for the Bengals was about to come true. It was right there, but it was not him. In fact, Mayer wasn't taken in the first round at all. Might the Bengals trade up to get him tonight? They need a tight end. We'll see. Instead, Cincinnati's pick was Clemson defensive end Myles Murphy. Just looking at the franchise's history, you figured a D lineman or a cornerback would be the pick and not a tight end. The Bengals need the help. Last year, they recorded a sack just 5% of opponents' dropbacks last season, the fourth lowest in the National Football League. Will Murphy help? He had 18 sacks over his last 3 years at Clemson, and the Bengals need those kinds of numbers starting this season. We'll be joined by Don Munson here momentarily, longtime legendary voice of the Clemson Tigers, to talk more about Mr. Murphy. The beat goes on tonight and tomorrow night, 6 more rounds of the draft. Jay Morrison from The Athletic will join us at 11:30 to discuss Murphy a little bit and what the team might do in rounds 2 and 3. Bryce Young, the first pick overall. Ohio State star C.J. Stroud goes number 2 to Houston. And then the Texans traded for the number 3 pick right behind Stroud. Got Alabama defensive star lineman Will Anderson Jr. will play linebacker for them. 3 Buckeyes go in the first round, including Princeton High School's very own Paris Johnson Jr. to Arizona in the 6th pick. Jackson Smith-Njigba, that's his real name, Smith-Njigba. More on that a little bit later on. He's a late first-round pick by Seattle. Oh, the power of social media. All of you young people, you bathe yourselves and clothe yourselves into the gospel of social media. Well, don't sell that idea to Will Levis. Wasn't it 2 days ago where everyone was talking about Stroud in this test and some post on something called Reddit, that Levis was going to be the top pick in the draft? Betting platforms were shut down all over the world, including Betfred. Shut her down. As Chris Spielman likes to say, shut her down. TSA at Newark. Shut her down on Thanksgiving weekend. The UK quarterback wasn't selected at all in the first round, and we're not making light of that. Levis and his family handled the constant attention with grace and class last night, but you knew that kid was hurting inside. His name will be called early tonight, we assume. The biggest story, though, in the NFL wasn't the draft, believe it or not. It was the signing of Lamar Jackson. The former league MVP becomes the highest paid player in football. 5-year, $260 million contract with $185 million of that guaranteed. Don't look now, boys and girls. Baltimore is loading up. They signed Odell Beckham Jr. They bring in Nelson Aguilar. They draft the BC speedster Flowers in the first round. You throw in their big-time tight end. You go with J.K. Dobbins in the backfield. All of a sudden, that offense is scary. And remember, the Bengals, it took a miracle play to beat them in the playoffs last year. In baseball, Reds open a 3-game weekend series tonight in Oakland. First pitch at 9:40. Is Pittsburgh for real? Or is this just a April rainbow? The Pirates beat the Dodgers for the second straight night last night and own the best record in the National League, 18-8. In basketball, Boston closes out its series in Atlanta, advancing on to round 2. Golden State, one of 2 big ones tonight, will host Sacramento with a chance to win that series. And the LA Lakers host a 2-seed Memphis Grizzlies with a chance to win that series. Both home teams tonight clearly do not want to go on the road for a decisive Game 7. Tomorrow, Game 1, Phoenix at top seed Denver. That starts the second round. And then on Sunday over in the East, the Miami Heat will play in Madison Square Garden to face the Knicks. Huge match for FC Cincinnati on Saturday night. They'll be in New England. Top 2 teams in the MLS. FC's radio voice, Tommy G. How do you pronounce his last name?
Galerder.
Yep. All right, Tommy G, kind enough to join us. That's at 11:15 for a preview of that one. Don Munson coming up in a matter of minutes. Let me know, Casey, when he's ready to go. We're going to cover a lot of ground here today. After we talk to Don Munson about Myles Murphy, we're going to go back and look at where our picks were in that first round. We said they might be subject to some maneuvering with trades. That happened with the third pick in the draft. These two guys were right about the number 1 pick. I thought Stroud would be the number 1 pick. He was number 2. We'll also talk about some of the storylines last night. We'll get to that in a minute. But on very short notice, legendary voice of the Clemson Tigers. He's doing baseball in Boston right now, Don Munson. How are you, young man? You got your Clemson button down on there, looking good, bright and early.
Hey, Tom, it's a solid Orange Friday here, even in Boston, so we're all ready to go. Doubleheader ahead of us, but looking forward to it. Appreciate you having me on. This is a thrill for me to be able to talk with you.
Well, I really, really appreciate it. I have some really good friends down there in Clemson, down there in your area, and the Maloneys, I don't know if you know them. One of their sons plays for the Clemson football team, was a walk-on. He's been a high school coach here for a long time. We come down to visit from time to time. Beautiful, beautiful campus. Tell us about Myles Murphy, Don.
Myles is a guy that basically from the time that he stepped foot on campus at Clemson was a guy that the moment last night was what he was focused on, was becoming a player in the National Football League and being a first-round draft pick in the National Football League. And I think Cincinnati got themselves an absolute gem. I mean, I really do. He's a guy that knows how to set the edge. Maybe he didn't have the biggest sack numbers in the college game, but I think in the pro game, those numbers can go up significantly.
Let's talk about him, first of all, his strengths. I mean, I can sit there and watch, 3, 4, 5 minutes of his highlight reel. And, you and I look great on a highlight reel, right? You do, I don't. But, we can sit there and watch him. When you just zero in on his strengths, they would be what?
I think one would be physical strength. He is a tremendously strong young man. Speed is going to be something else that he brings to the table. And that, so you're talking about strength and speed, and that the word athleticism certainly comes to mind. But he also is a guy that he knows how to play his position. I mean, he knows what is expected of him at defensive end. Coach Sweeney always uses a phrase, hey, you just do your job. You're part of 11 pieces that are on the field. So you do your job. Don't try to do somebody else's. Don't let somebody else do your job. And Myles is a guy that when he's going to be coached up, and he's going to get coached up by Marion Hobby now, defensive lineman coach there at Cincinnati, one of the best that there is. Marion's going to take great care of him and is going to teach this young man even some more just basic fundamentals of the game. He's fundamentally sound, is Myles, but he also has that ability to just, at times, just make the wow play. And as a defensive end, you only have to make the wow play 3, 4, 5 times a game, and you are considered among the elite.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Okay, things he probably would need to work on. That coaching would probably look at him and they'd say, okay, these are a couple of areas, and all of us have them. We can get better in this and this and this and this. He probably needs to get better where? His strength is rushing the passer. He handles the run game pretty well. Where would he need to get better?
I would say that probably maybe he needs to get better a little bit using his hands a little bit better, which is very teachable and very coachable. But, Myles is a guy that at times has just depended upon his strength, depended upon his athleticism to get by a left tackle or a right tackle, wherever they're gonna line him up. But I would say that, the art of using your hands, I think, is something that is maybe a little bit lost to most people, but he needs to get a little bit more heavy-handed, use use that leverage for him to get by. But again, I think that his best football is still way ahead of Myles Murphy.
You know, you really can't draw conclusions. I like to try and do it. I'm always fascinated by where the kids are during the draft. You know, they send the quote-unquote big guys to New York and all that kind of thing. And then you'll see some other kids that make the decision to be at home with their families. And I got to tell you, there was something that I found really positive in just watching him for that short amount of time with his family at home when he got drafted. What's he like as a kid?
He's a tremendous person. That's the other thing that Cincinnati is going to get in this young man. They're going to get a young man now that knows what life is about, right? Even though he's pretty young, but he's going to represent the program. He's going to represent the city. He's going to represent in the greatest way possible. I mean, he's that solid of an individual. He's not going to get into trouble. I will be absolutely shocked if something negative comes out about Myles Murphy off the field. That's just not going to happen with Myles. So I think that's first and foremost, and I think that's important in the National Football League, particularly in this day and time. He's not a guy that's big on social media. He doesn't, go around and flaunt that a ton. He just wants to go out, be Myles Murphy, and he will do some significant things for the community as he starts to work his way through his career. He'll be very active in the community in some way, shape, or form, and I always think that's a big plus for any NFL team.
There is no doubt about it. I mean, obviously, this kid was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school in Georgia, and you guys found a way to get him. I mean, I'm guessing, I didn't follow him at the time. I'm guessing he could have gone anywhere he wanted to, right?
Oh yeah, he could have gone anywhere that he wanted to. And actually, it was kind of interesting when we were recruiting him. Was at the same time that Clelin Ferrell was finishing up his career at Clemson. Of course, Cleve was part of the 18 national championship team. Ended up being the 4th overall pick by the Raiders in the draft that year. So Cleve was kind of a bit of his recruiting process as well, and was all right, Myles saw, all right, here's a defensive end from Clemson going number 4 in the draft. That's something that, I want to do is be a first-round pick. So that helped getting Myles Murphy to Clemson.
I don't want to let you get out of here without talking a little bit about the Clemson program right now. I mean, it's been one of the 3, 4, 5 best in the country, multiple national championships, all that kind of thing. Last 2 years have not been to the college football playoff. What is the state of Clemson football right now?
Well, if you listen to William Christopher Sweeney, he'll tell you that the program has never been in a better situation. And I love it. I mean, and I understand, I'm dressed in orange. I see things through orange-colored glasses. I am definitely all in with Dabo. There's no part of me that is not. So I'm going to believe in that because he hasn't been wrong. Tom, I will take you all the way back 2010. Clemson goes to the Meineke Car Care Bowl in Charlotte, North Carolina, a 6-6 team, and they lose to Skip Holtz and South Florida. And so this is now the second full year that Dabo has been the head coach. He took over midway through the 2008 season, but he walked right into that press conference, even after that, and he looked at the press score and he said, guys, listen, I realized this season did not end the way that we thought that it was going to end. But he said, what I have seen from this team and this program makes me believe that we are about to head off on the greatest decade in Clemson football history. And that's saying a lot. And then he went out. Now, raise your hand if you thought that was true at that time. There weren't many people that raised their hand, but he believed it. And he made it come to fruition. He's not afraid to make the tough choices when it has to be a staff change. He's not afraid to make those decisions. He did it this year, firing an offensive coordinator that was a Clemson guy and Brandon Streeter, and bringing in, obviously, Garrett Riley now as the new offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. But he's a guy that he wants to be the best of the best. Best is the standard at Clemson. And there's no doubt that he calls it the roaring 20s, what we're about to go through. And he says it's going to be better. He says it's going to be better than the decade before. And I'm not going to doubt the man. I'm just not going to sit here and doubt him.
I got it. I've shared this story before. I've only seen him one time in my life, and we were at a vacation place where I guess he goes regularly down in Florida. We were down there visiting some friends, and they have one full-court basketball court outside on this little island. And our son and a couple of buddies of his went over there to play basketball. He comes walking back. He says, "Dad, you're not going to believe who's over there in the basketball court." I said, "Who's that?" He says, "Dabo." I said,
Yep.
You're kidding, right? So I walk over there, and my son, and I'm just kind of standing, 30, 40 yards away. And, I mean, it's not 10 minutes later. He's got all these kids rounded up, coaching them up, divvying up teams and getting them to play and play hard. And I thought to myself, man, how cool is that? I'd send my kid to play for that guy any day of the week.
Well, I would too. If I had a son that could go play for him, believe me, I would do that absolute same thing. And he's not, he coached Little League in Clemson while his boys were coming up. Now they've all aged out, but he did that for almost 10, 12 years. He was so he was the head coach. He was also the third base coach. So you can imagine how aggressive he was. And they were winning. They won stuff. I mean, it wasn't like they were showing up and being like a 5-7 team or something. No. They were, like 12-0, 11-1. So there was purpose even there. He's a guy, when you walk into the facility at Clemson, it is all based around, it's based around education, because you walk right in the Paul journey, what we call Paul journey, which is all about the academic side of the athlete, is right in you come in the building, it's right the first thing you see there to the right-hand side. But then as you walk through the building, Tom, it's all about competition. And everything is designed around competition. He wants his guys at all times to be doing that within our facility. And then, when on game day, all he asks them is, "Hey, listen, I just want you to go out there, give me whatever your best is today that you can give me your best. When you walk off that field today afterwards, if you say that have you given me your best, I don't care what the scoreboard says, then I can live with that. But if you don't, I'll hold you accountable." And I think that's another big thing, is particularly with young kids today. I think they want to be held accountable. I don't know that we do that very much in our society anymore. We kind of coddle them a little bit. Kids want accountability. They want discipline. And I think that's another big selling point for Clemson football, no doubt about it.
Well, we can't thank you enough for your time. I know you're really busy today, Don. You got a doubleheader coming up today there at Boston College. Thank you so very much on such short notice for taking time out of your morning.
Tom, I can't leave without telling you this. I'm an App State grad, okay? Appalachian State grad. I watch your broadcasts of Michigan App State every summer. My wife and I get together. We watch it every summer. We love some Thom Brennaman in the Munson household, baby. I want you to come see us. I want you to come visit us in Clemson. You got my phone number now. Yep. I expect a call. You can come to any game you want to. November 4th, we're playing Notre Dame. You want to be there? You got a seat, baby. We would love to have you come and see us in Clemson. We can show you what Tiger Town is all about. Believe me, you're going to love it even more.
Well, Don, I really appreciate that very much. And the best of luck today. And we'll check back with you when we get closer to football season to start talking about the Clemson Tigers.
That'd be great. Appreciate it. Let me spread a little gospel of the Clemson Tigers. Go Tigers.
Amen. All righty. Well, I mean, you had Jackson Carman down there. He's a Cincinnati kid, right?
Yeah.
You had him down there. So they're already, they're recruiting up here. Clemson recruits everywhere. They're like Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia. Everywhere they go.
Big time program.
Let's go.
How about that? I don't even know if he was in yet to hear that.
Yeah, that's our intro today. That play.
App State. Love it.
All right, fellas. Casey, we're gonna get Reed in here in a few minutes. We're gonna take a break so he can get settled in, make sure we're all situated.
Yep.
All right? We got a lot to talk about, starting with Mr. Murphy. So basically, from now until, when's Tommy G coming on?
11:15.
Basically till 11:15, we're talking about the Bengals pick last night. We're going to go through our top 10 that we thought might happen, how it would shake out. Then we're going to get into players that might be available for rounds 2 and 3 for the Bengals. Who would we pick if we were the Bengals? If those, 3 of those names were still hanging around? Positional needs at this point. You still have Mixon and two other guys that Casey's the only guy on the planet that gets excited about Williams and Evans. But, is running back there? Tight end had a chance for Mayer last night. Would they trade up today to get him? Right? They only have Irv Smith in there. I mean, yeah, Sample. Your guy Sample's in there.
Ugh.
And that's not nice. I'm about to not be nice at all in a little while. When it comes to something that got so far up under my skin last night, I can't see straight. But we have other things to talk about before that. Ham and Eggers, here we go. Draft day.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great, trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. There's also a new premium alkaline water, and it is Pawnee. Tastes fantastic. Made in Hamilton, Ohio, right here across the street from our office, Pawnee uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That is PAHHNI water.com, PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Get your coffee from UDF, bet with Betfred, drink Pawnee water, and get your technology solutions from Encore.tech. What has Thom upset is truly the pinnacle of what would make Thom upset, and I can't wait for him to share it with you.
Yeah, I'm also excited for him to share.
I can't wait to see what his take is because I know what it is. He came in today very upset about it, and I can't wait to see what his take is. But we do have the picks and everything that we are going to give for the next two rounds for the Bengals, second and third, pick number 60 and pick number 92. Casey, is there anything? Oh, make sure that you like the stream. Go click that like button if you haven't already. We have 29 likes on the stream right now. Make sure you go click that like button. If you want to subscribe to the show on a podcast, I know the stream started late. We were already broadcasting, but the stream connecting to YouTube kind of lagged a little bit. So you hopped in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the show. If you want to go back and catch the very, very beginning of the show, you can do that in podcast form. Just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman on all the podcast platforms. Also, any other Chatterbox show is on there as well. Chatterbox Reds, all of them. Box Lunch, they're all there. Leave a rating and a review, and just search all those podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe. Sir Boy Wonder, how many buds did Paul drink when the Bengals didn't pick Mike Mayer? I actually loved, we said it on the show, plus 1,100 for a defensive lineman to be picked. Nobody bet it, or at least I didn't bet it. But the value was there. I thought it was the right position, right pick. Was disappointed not to get the hometown guy, though. All right.
I know. I mean, it was truly just the case, and this is what I said when we had that famous clip of us.
The RAS score.
It's the RAS score. They're just not going to take a guy that, one, is not just a freak athlete at 28 for the tight end position. Like, they're not going to get an average. He's not average. That's not the right word. But he's not your he doesn't check all the boxes, right, for you to even make that pick there. And clearly, all the other teams thought the same way. So they were in the right by not picking him. And now that he's in the second,
Trade up.
they could potentially trade up. I could see that. But I wouldn't do that. I would just let a tight end fall to you. I mean, you've got pretty much all the tight ends available to you now, which is,
Thom, how did Zim's show go last night?
Zim's show was fantastic. He had a bunch of people on there, some of whom I knew, some that I did. I was only on there about, 15 minutes or something, but it was great. Lively conversation. Someone noted in the chat, said it was a good thing I got off when I did because things got loose.
Things got loose.
Zim made a prediction last night when the Atlanta Falcons were on the clock. He says they're taking Robinson, the running back. No one saw that coming with the 8th pick in the draft, except for Zim Hude.
Ooh.
And he said he was going to drink 2 shots of whatever it was he was drinking if it was Robinson. Next thing you know, pow, pow, down it goes. He was spot on. It was fun, though. Really appreciate those guys having me on. And some dude who's a rapper named Santiago De Leon. You know that number? You know that name?
No.
Big-time Bengals fan. Really cool guy. Really cool guy. Enjoyed having, Ohio Lakers 513 says that dude was on point. Okay, fellas, let's start with your impressions. Maybe you were talking about it when I was gone. You feel good about Casey? We were worried about you on the ledge last night. Reed Mouse, welcome to the program. Great
Thom,
to have you
hey,
back.
How's it going?
Always a pleasure. All right, each of you felt good about that or no?
So a lot like what Reed said yesterday, right? You got to give a lot of kudos to Reed here.
No doubt about it. He picked
called
Murphy.
it.
He
Reed
was
was on
spot,
it.
He was spot on.
I called it.
He was
He's
spot
a
on
man.
with their spot. I mean, what was crazy was it wasn't even just the fact that they got Myles Murphy, which I didn't expect Myles Murphy to be there. It was going to be a long shot, right? But the fact that he was there, that's great. It was what they said afterwards was they were going to pick another edge rusher if Myles Murphy wasn't there. So they were clearly wanting to fix this pass rush, whether we wanted that to be the pick or not. I mean, they saw it as a huge need. You look at the stats, they were 28th in sacks. They were not that great in pass rush last year. When their guys got hurt, the production dipped significantly. This adds a level of depth that they desperately needed, and it also is a plan for the future for when you can't necessarily pay Sam Hubbard the 3rd contract or Trey Hendrickson that 3rd contract. They're going to be older. They've been used a lot in our system. I mean, they've gotten a lot of snaps and played through a lot of injuries. So it made a lot of sense. I give it a B+. There's a lot of upside with him too. The reason why people don't like him is because he's got all these athletic traits and couldn't put it together in Clemson. He had one or two moves. A lot of it was just using his power. He didn't use his speed, his agility to, create spin moves or, to get inside a lot. But overall, if you look at it from a perspective that this guy can develop into something better than what he is right now, and he's not forced to play.
He's only 21.
He's 21. He's not forced to start right away. He can learn behind one of our better defensive ends like Trey Hendrickson. He can learn a lot from Sam Hubbard. I like the pick overall. I do.
I give it an A-.
You
Paul?
give it higher. Okay.
I love the position that they picked. I mean, again, we talked a lot about it. I have been extremely high on picking an edge rusher or picking somebody that can get to the quarterback. To be completely honest, didn't know a whole lot about this guy that they were picking outside of what Reed gave out on his expert analysis yesterday. So I had to do a little digging on him last night, and I got the consensus that a lot of people were surprised that he was even still there at 28, which I don't know if is a question mark that we should be concerned about or not, but Bengals got him. And I liked it. So I'll give it a B+.
Okay. Reed, you were the guy that thought he was going to be there. You picked him. You said that's who they're taking, and you are on your game. I used to say on the show that I thought your burner account was, the player formerly known as Mouse Cop, when others were singing your praises here in the chat, including Sir Boy Wonder. The player formerly known as Mouse Cop said Reed is a bum.
Me and Mouse Cop don't get along. We don't get along a whole lot. It's mostly because of my Reds takes. But, yeah, not my burner. I do have a burner, Tom. You have any hints on any guesses on who my burner is, or just
In the chat?
Yeah, I have a burner that comes in the chat. No?
I'd have to start exploring around a little bit.
But as for the Bengals pick, yeah, like Paul said, edge rusher was something that the Bengals needed. Whether you guys realized it or not, they just didn't they didn't pressure the quarterback a whole lot last season. And this is something that the Bengals have shown us in previous seasons, that they are drafting for the future, not a need at this very moment, but what could be a need in a year or two. So they get a guy that just a couple months ago was, some people were saying, in the top 10, certainly a top 15 draft pick. And yeah, there's some questions. Why is he dropping so far? Why is he dropping so far? The main key is that the talent is there. The size is there. The talent's there. He's going to develop into a nice edge rusher and doesn't have to play right away. Doesn't have to produce right away. But I think it's just a beautiful pick. If we're giving out grades like you guys gave, you said A-. Casey said B+. I'm closer to the B+. I will give myself an A+ for calling it that.
No doubt. You
Good job,
get
Reed.
A+ all the way.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I like, and you even look at the board, right? At the time, Myles Murphy was definitely at the top of their board. Like, that's
Yep.
He was
they couldn't
clear-
believe he was there.
Yeah, he couldn't believe that he was there. He was garnering top 5, top 10 picks 2 months ago. So he's definitely worthy of a first-round pick. I mean, the dude was about to fall out of the first round altogether. So, I mean, good job, Bengals. I think they did a good job. The one thing I do want to say, because we were watching the draft show on ESPN, and they did a whole expo, like you said, on before the show on Michael Mayer, and I thought for sure I was going to be sending a text to Paul.
Oh,
They
I
got
had the
your
draft.
guy. They got your guy, Paul.
I had the drafts ready. I had all the content ready, and then it sat there, untweeted.
Yeah, I mean it.
That
Just the
stuff's
brass
hard
core.
to watch, man.
Yeah.
You know, it really is hard to watch
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I know these are mammoth human beings and they've had their educations paid for. Levis and Mayer, the two guys in particular I'm talking about. There were others who thought they were going in the first round, but those were the two that by far got the most TV time, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, you're sitting there and I mean, I was sitting there, my son Luke and I were sitting there watching, and I just kept thinking to myself, man, if I was sitting here and they kept putting me and our son and, you know, and my wife and, you know, rest of family members on TV, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and here's this dream, and you think it's going to happen that day. You're nervous all day. Doesn't start till 8 o'clock at night. You're still sitting there at 11:30, and then it doesn't happen. I mean, you know, do you feel terrible for him at the end of the day? No. There are a lot of people that are in, you know, nowhere close to this kind of position because these guys are going to be millionaires by the end of the night tonight, even as second-round picks. But you do have to have a little compassion for him, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, do you want to just get into the Will Levis thing right now then? We might as well.
Well, I'm going to start on the social media part of this because you guys are the ones that are all wrapped up in it. I want to know one day when this story comes out, what's the story? Because clearly this person on Reddit, just like the cowards on Twitter, 90-something%, they're fake accounts. People don't use their real names, right? No, don't want to do that. I want to have my voice. I want to be heard, but I'm not going to put my name out there. No guts. None. So whoever this person is on Reddit, do we even have a fake name for whoever this person was?
The post got deleted. So
All right. Whoever it was, wherever they got it from, are we ever going to find out? Was this something inside the Panthers organization? Was this something from the Levis camp of people? Was this something from his agent? Whatever it might be. Think about all of the chaos from that one social media post that would not put their name on it. Think of what we did as a society in putting stock, a society of sports fans, as multi-billion-dollar gambling websites. Think of the effect that one total BS Reddit post without a name created in sports. I mean, These are multi-billion-dollar gambling companies that stop taking bets off of a post from an anonymous source on Reddit. And the kid doesn't even get drafted in the first round. Those are your people.
My people.
Your people.
I mean, it's probably just some dude who was trolling, getting his kicks out of it, and put a post up there, and didn't happen. It's probably, I mean, that's quite honestly exactly what happened, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real here. Film is always king. You should always trust what you see on film, and it wasn't great. And you shouldn't have bought into the hype on just a Reddit post. I will admit that. I did buy into it a little bit. But I thought there was something more to it because the sports books were closing those bets down. I think those are pretty good sources, if anything, to gauge whether something's true or not. But the fact that they probably, just like you said, Tom, took one look at that post and was just like, oh no, here come all these bets. I better shut this down. This has some legitimacy to it.
I mean, where's their accountability?
I don't know.
Seriously. You're messing with people's money here. Where's their accountability?
I think it's more so like if you're really gonna fall for a Reddit post, like I would never see a post on Reddit like that and think, oh, I got to put a bet in. But a lot of people don't put two and two together, and people do. And then the sports books create so much liability for themselves that they have to lower the odds just because they're taking so many bets on it. I will say it was posted on the biggest sports betting subreddit forum that there is. So if it got like I saw the post. I'm a member of that page. I saw the post, and it wasn't crazy viral. If anybody knows Reddit, it only had like 170 likes.
But it had to be viral enough. I mean, you look at that stuff. I mean, but it had to have an enormous impact somewhere.
Yeah.
For all of these betting websites, international betting websites. Right?
And the crazy thing was that it didn't even have anything linked to it. It was just the headline. Because a lot of times on a Reddit post, it'll write the headline, and then there will be an article linked, or there will be a longer description in the post, or whatever it might be. This post just had the headline that said, I'm hearing from the Panthers or whoever, or Levis's camp, however it was phrased, that Will Levis is going to go number 1 overall. He didn't get picked. They deleted the post. So be it. Now here we sit.
Okay. All right. Well, he's going to get drafted today, and good luck to him in the whole 9 yards. You guys want to get into our picks from yesterday?
We can do that.
All right. Casey put them up. We all did top 10. We said it was subject to change because of potential trades. So this was mine. I had Stroud 1. I still stand by that, even though he wasn't. He was 2. Again, another example. Whoever the person is, again, you ask yourself the question. I don't want to go off on too many tangents here, but I thought a lot about this morning driving into work. Whoever the person is that leaked it to the media about what C.J. Stroud did on this test score, if it's true or untrue, the person, if it's found out, should be fired. It's cruel. It's mean. It's going out of your way to try to embarrass a young person. Out of control. If they ever hunt them down, fire their ass on the spot. It's downright mean and cruel. Obviously, a lot of smart football people decided, we'll take Stroud. I had Levis going early. I bought into it. I thought he was going to get taken early. I thought Tennessee was going to trade up to get him because they needed a quarterback. Richardson does go to Indy.
Yeah, that was a good pick, Tom.
I thought Carter, obviously, his stuff off the field had to have some effect on him, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he dropped out of the top, almost dropped out of the top 10, right?
Right. Okay, and then flip it on over. Boy, how fair is that Philadelphia getting that dude?
Oh, God.
Right. All right, Anderson ends up going 3 instead of 6. Wilson was top 10, right?
Yeah, he went to the Raiders just like you predicted.
Well, really? I was
Yeah.
right on that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if anybody saw. I didn't know that. I'm not being facetious here. Chicago had a chance to take Skoronski. They didn't.
No, they went and got Darnell Wright.
Yeah.
I kind of, not to say I was right, but I just knew that there was some sort of issue there with the size, that Darnell Wright is the more prototypical tackle. He was the second tackle taken, right? Because Paris Johnson
Yeah.
Jr., which was your number one tackle, went to the Cardinals. Yeah, I mean, Skoronski, and they even labeled him on the ESPN ticker as a guard. So the team that ended up taking him, can't remember off the top of my head.
Titans.
The Titans
Yep.
ended up picking him as a guard, not a tackle, which
Yeah.
I think is, I think he can do really well at guard, bulks up some more, but I'm not shocked about the Darnell Wright thing because he's prototypical size, strength. Yeah, that makes sense.
The one kid, Witherspoon. I had him as my first defensive back taken in the draft, and he was, but I didn't think top 5, man. And what was he? Where did he end up? 6, 7?
He was at 5 for
5.
Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
He's the real deal, man.
you watch more of that video of that dude, man. All right, let's see yours.
Yeah, so let's go over mine. I did not do very well, but so it goes. Bryce Young, obviously, I got that one, and I was somewhat right about the Texans because if we would have done to 15, I would have picked the Texans to pick C.J. Stroud at 12. So Will Anderson ends up being a Texan anyways, so I guess that's somewhat right. Jalen Carter falling. I mean, he is truly one of the best players in this draft, and for the Eagles to get him at 9, oh boy, that's just completely unfair. Nolan Smith dropping, it's just the size issue, man. It's not the talent. But anyways, we just keep moving on. I was surprised the Lions did not take a corner at 6. I guess they were probably going to take Witherspoon, but the Seattle Seahawks scooped him up before they could make their pick. That's why they probably traded back. I was really surprised about Tyree Wilson going to the Raiders just because I thought they had Chandler Jones and Max Crosby already. But, hey, more edge rushers. Can't go wrong with that. The biggest surprise to me out of the top 10 was Bijan Robinson going to the Atlanta Falcons. That was a surprise to me, especially when they were already pretty solid there at running back. Algier had a really great season last year as a rookie. But, man, I guess Bijan Robinson's really going to add that extra oomph to that team that just loves to run the football. Yeah, I mean, other than that, the Eagles getting Jalen Carter, I mean, that's just unfair. They got Jalen Davis and Jalen Carter.
Fletcher
together.
Cox still hanging around.
And they also
Solid player.
They also got Nolan Smith.
Noah.
I mean Noel Smith, and they are literally. Trace messaged us in the group chat the other day, or not the other day, just yesterday. They are the Philadelphia Bulldogs. They are. They're just the Georgia defense, pretty much. So that was my takeaway from the top 10.
All right.
Let's get into reads.
Reed?
Sure. Sling it away. So I was of the mind that there were going to be 4 quarterbacks taken in the first 4 picks. Obviously, Will Levis did not get taken. Bryce Young going first overall. I'm glad none of us fell into that trap, that Reddit trap, that Will Levis was going to go first. But Bryce Young goes first overall. I had Levis going to the Texan. Obviously, he fell out of the first round. Stroud obviously then went second. Richardson to the Colts, had that right away. I had Will Anderson being the first.
Yeah, you did. You had him up there.
Had him as the first defensive player taken, so I was right there. Go ahead and switch it over to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Jalen Carter obviously was too high on him. He falls to number 9. I had Paris Johnson being the second tackle taken overall. He obviously went in the top 10. Devin Witherspoon was a little lower on him. I'm surprised that he got taken up by the Seahawks at number 5. Tyree Wilson Was one pick off. Had him going. Well, I had him going to the Raiders as well. Look at us, Tom. We had Richardson and Tyree Wilson going to the same slot, same teams.
How about that?
We're just.
Well, hey, man, I'm following your lead. You picked the 28th pick.
That's right.
I mean, it's one thing to pick the 1st or 2nd or 5th or 9th. But 28, that's big league. All right, Paulie.
All right.
You were doing a lot of research on this.
Big time. All right.
Dialed in.
Dialed in.
Well, I went 3 for 3 at the top. Will Anderson obviously went to the Texans, but I did get the top 3. I thought Levis would be the quarterback for Indianapolis instead of Anthony Richardson. And then, Tom, the wheels just fell off from there. I went 3 for 3. I started hot, and then things just kind of devolved out of there. I think those were the only 3 I got,
You
right?
got Witherspoon up there. I mean, so you go 3
Well,
for 3
no.
to start it,
Wither-
then you got Witherspoon, his first DB taken. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Could have had him at 5, though, and gotten it right.
You had Skoronski as a top 10 pick.
Yeah. I don't know.
Nola Smith.
Nola Smith, that's right. Nola Smith wasn't. Yeah, you're right. So I guess I had some of those guys
You
up there,
did
but
very well, Paul.
did all right.
You did
No,
a
I
good job,
mean it.
BLP.
You did really well.
All right. I'll take it. I expect better out of myself, but I did all right.
You did great, BLP.
There we go.
BLP.
Thanks,
Big
man.
League Paul.
I need Paul to be better. I
thank you,
disagree.
Reed.
I think Paul
Thank you,
Paul
Reed.
stunk.
Thank you, Reed.
I don't know how in the world you think he stinks when you nailed 1, 2, and 3, and 3 being Will Anderson. That's big league.
It's big time.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Wait.
Now we move. Go ahead.
Before we move to tonight, right?
Yes.
You have one more take that you had that you wanted to talk about before we move to tonight. You have one thing that you had to get off your chest about last night, right?
Well, I have a couple things that hit me last night.
Maybe something that had to do with a wide receiver taking 20th to the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay. Now listen. Before I go into this, I don't want anyone at all. I am a father. Okay. Many of you are fathers. Some of you are not. I'm the only father in this room. You can't explain to any of these 3 guys. You can have a nephew or a niece or a brother or sister, whatever it might be. It's impossible to love anything in the world more than you love your kids. And then you come to find out once you have kids that you just love kids, okay? And you get around your kids' friends and how impressionable they are and how vulnerable they are and how dependent they are on us and all that kind of thing. So before I go any further, I don't want anybody thinking here that I'm beating up a kid. This is more a shot at the National Football League. So for those that weren't watching last night, I am all about. The kid was off the charts. Did you see the Jets kid?
Yeah, he was great.
He's great.
Unbelievable. Make-A-Wish Foundation kid, overcame cancer. He gets up there and he's doing JETS. He's not reading off cards. He was freaking unbelievable when he made their pick up there. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, now that is everything right that you can do in this draft. Everything you can do right. Later in the draft, we decide, the league, we're going to bring up some young football players and some young flag football players. NFL is very much behind football at the youth level, as they should be. But the decision was made somewhere along the line that one of those kids is going to introduce the Seattle Seahawks pick, which, again, I'm all on board. I love it. I love having the kids involved. Did you see what happened? Roll the tape.
With the 20th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jackson Njigba, wide receiver, Ohio State.
All right, so the first wide receiver taken is Jackson Smith and
Freeze the
Jigba,
screen.
who
Can you freeze it? Okay. You see the letters there, WR? Do you see those? See them on the screen right there, WR?
Yeah.
Okay. It then says JAXON. That would be this young man's first name, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Do you see any other letters between Jackson and Njigba? Do you see anything else there on the screen?
I mean, I do. There's clearly a Smith and a hyphen there.
Is that how he was announced? The biggest day of his life? The culminating moment of his life, being a first-round draft pick in the National Football League, and they can't even get his name right? I mean, it's in that cat from Northwestern, right? That has 18, letters in the first name and 21 letters in the second name.
Attaboy.
Right, okay? This is Jackson Smith Njigba. Has nothing to do with him being an Ohio State guy. I would say the same thing about any young man in this moment. Can we please, National Football League, for the sake of these young men and their families, can we please just get the name right? Is that too much to ask? Am I being too hard? Paulie, am I being too hard? I mean, you are, the liberal elite out there
God.
with, the soft heart and, everything else. And, am I being too hard? Each of you just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Too hard, yes. Or
she
no,
didn't do it
okay,
on.
no.
She didn't do it on purpose.
I didn't
Tom.
say she did it on purpose. I didn't say that.
He just wants the league to do better.
She just skipped the most generic name in the English language. It was a given that it was going to be in there. She just skipped over it. That's all she did.
She thought it was his middle name. That's what I'm going with. Why would you announce the middle name?
I don't know.
Okay.
I caught it in the moment, but I didn't really think anything of it.
AJ, you're not right on this one. You keep going back to stuff about Ohio State. It has nothing to do with it. You're wrong about that. You're totally wrong. Totally wrong. If they got up there and they introduced him Michael Meyer, I would say the same thing about Michael Meyer. Okay? So I'm just saying, I'm not beating up a kid, Mouse Cop. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. That wasn't the intent. Okay. Sue her, says Richards. Oh, boy, we got some demented people on here. All right. Anything else before we get to the second round that stood out for you guys?
Well, DeJuan Jones made it out, so I guess I'm not totally off the cliff yet.
Okay, here we go. Second round. These are three players each of us thinks is going to be around when the Bengals pick in the second round. Okay? Then the pick that we would make, not who we think they're going to make, because we don't know if these guys are going to be around or not. Okay? Okay. Here we go. Let's start with you, Casey.
All right, so pick 60, there's a ton of options that are going to be there for the Bengals that I like. It was really tough for me to pick my top three that I think would be there. Darnell Washington and DJ Turner may not make it to 60, but one of those guys might fall. And if one of those do, I really like their chances of being a Bengal. Keanu Benton, he's your 3-tech. He's a guy that can come in and help back up BJ Hill and give you more stability there. That is a dark horse pick for me. It's more of a pick that maybe they don't believe in our rotation that's there now. But yeah, DJ Turner, super fast, super shifty. And what I mean by that is fluid hips. So he doesn't get burnt often because he can just catch up to guys. And he's really good in Michigan. He can come up and make plays on the run game. They love guys that are like that. He's only 22. That's another plus for them. Darnell Washington as well. I'm just afraid of the tight ends all being snatched up before the Bengals can pick there at 60. So that's why I got Darnell Washington there. I think he has a chance of falling just because there's not a lot of production there in the pass game. But, man, I think they're going to really love the physical athlete that he is there, I think they would take their chances there with Darnell Washington at 60.
So you think that you would pick Washington?
So out of those three,
yes,
if
that's
all
the name
three,
of this game
yeah,
we're doing right now.
Out of the three that are there, I'd probably pick DJ Turner.
Okay.
And then Darnell Washington, then Keanu Benton. But like I said, there is a ton of guys in the second round that I really, really like. It was really hard for me to even come up with the first three. So
there are a lot of good players, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only 32 whatever players have been picked. So there are a lot of good players out there. All right, Reed.
All right, so you'll see a theme on who I think will get taken at 60th overall. All tight ends. So I put 3 tight ends up there.
Wow.
Sam Laporta. I really do think that the Bengals are going to go after a tight end here in the second round. Sam Laporta, Darnell Washington, and Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave went to OSU, the real OSU, Tom, Oregon State. But if I had to pick any of these,
They're third in line after Oklahoma State. Go ahead.
I think that all 3 will get a couple will get snatched up early in the second round. Michael Mayer still being available gives you a little more breathing room. He'll get taken very early in the second round. So one of these 4, if you include Michael Mayer, I don't think he's going to be around, but one of the 4 tight ends that are projected in the second round will be there at 60, and I think it's going to be Luke Musgrave. I think Luke Musgrave is going to be who the Bengals get. Oregon State guy, a little more size, not as big as Darnell Washington, but bigger than Sam Laporta. I like Luke Musgrave there at pick 60.
All right. Solid. Paulie?
All right, let's get in the lab.
Here we go.
I also like Laporta, and I think they will go with a tight end, but I tried to pick one from each position. Julius Brent's cornerback out of Kansas State. Maybe they go with a cornerback there.
Solid player.
And then I'm not even going to try to pronounce our guy from USC. But I also did this before they picked
Tui
last
Pulotu.
night.
Go ahead.
So maybe they don't go with him. Instead, I would slot in probably one more cornerback. And I think they go with either a tight end or a cornerback here. So maybe Laporta or Brents, one of the two.
Okay. Okay, my 3 guys are, I'm trying to remember who I put in there. I had Laporta, the tight end. I had Bergeron, the offensive tackle from Syracuse, and DeJuan Jones, the right tackle at Ohio State University. And I've changed my pick. I'm taking Laporta. I love DeJuan Jones. I think he could be a guy who could play there for the next 8-10 years. So, I'm waffling a little bit here. One or the other. But if I had to pick one, I would pick Jones. Because I think for the long haul, he's a guy you just plug in over there, let him play the next 8-10 years, and go get him. All right, third round.
Wait, DeJuan Jones?
Yeah.
Where'd he go to school?
No, I'm sorry. Is it second or third OSU?
It is third.
Notice how many Pac-12 players were picked in the first round last night.
not very many.
There was a time in the first 15 picks in the draft, every pick except for 2 were from the Big Ten or the SEC. Every one except 2. And the other 2 were in the Big 12. Need I say any more? Go ahead. All right, Case, round 3. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here.
Yeah, round 3. And again, I like the second and third rounds a lot in the draft. I think that's where you really start building out your team and the way you want it to look in the future. I got Roschon Johnson, the backup to Bijan Robinson from Texas.
Wow.
The dude he didn't get a lot of playing time, but I mean, you're right behind probably one of the best running backs that have ever, been scouted in the NFL. You're gonna lose time to him. But the time that he was in there, he was effective, and he was really good at pass blocking. And he's really big. He's a lot like Samaje Perine. And I think that they might actually take a chance on him here at 92. It might be a little high. But I think 92, you might start losing some running backs here. Luke Schoonmaker. Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan. I think he could also be there at 92. Might be a little bit of a stretch, Might be a little bit of a stretch, but, if you don't get a tight end at 60, you're looking at really bare bones here towards the back end of the first 100. So then after that, Blake Freeland, he got a lot of draft hype during the combine process, tested really, really well. The guy played really, really well in BYU, but that's just it. He played at BYU, and he is a little bit smaller. So that's why he's falling here to 100 or, the 90 range here. And you get your backup swing tackle solidified there with Blake Freeland. Those are my top 3. Who I would pick, I'm going with Roschon Johnson.
Okay.
I think that there's a need there that they can fill in, and you don't know. You could get a really big boom because he's got a play style that's very similar to Samaje, but he's younger and he's stronger, and every time he had the ball, he carried it for 6 yards. So I like that guy a lot.
Okay.
I like high chances with him.
Reed, third round.
So third round, pick 92. Obviously they took the edge rusher in the first round. I think they're going to take a tight end there in the second round. So in the third round, you have a couple of places to go. You go get Corey Trice from Purdue, the cornerback.
Purdue.
Yep. Your son's going to IU, so he'll know about Purdue.
That's right.
Right. I think DeJuan Jones might fall all the way down to 92, Case.
Oh, boy. That'd be crazy if you could get him at 92.
I think that he might fall all the way down to 92, and if he's there, he adds a lot of depth to the offensive line. So if he's there, I would like that. Tajay Spears from Tulane, the running back. You do need to get a running back at some point in this draft. We avoided the catastrophe that was picking a running back in the first round. So from this point forward, if they take a running back at any round, I'm okay with it, just as long as it wasn't in the first round. Out of those 3 guys, if I had to take one, DeJuan Jones, if he's available, I'm taking DeJuan Jones. Who I think they're going to get is Corey Trice. He's a little bit more size at cornerback. I think he is the biggest cornerback in the draft, 6'3", 210 pounds.
Yep.
So a little bit more size there. I like Corey Trice at 92.
Okay. Paulie?
Back to the lab we go.
Back to the lab.
Fire it up. Carl
Breaking
Brooks.
Bad.
So Carl Brooks, Casey, you were telling me yesterday was more of an interior guy than an exterior
he's
guy.
He's a 3 tech. He plays at like 310, 315.
Okay.
So the edge, even though he's labeled edge and he played edge, he's not going to play edge in the NFL.
So this is the top of the graphic says picks at 60. This is 92. I just didn't change it yet. Garrett Williams, cornerback, is who I think they will take if he's there. That's going to be my pick. And then you know what? I threw Tank Bigsby on there because I just thought it would be great to have a running back named Tank.
Yeah.
Legitimately, I saw him available there on my PFF mock draft, and I said, man, that'd be great.
The last name goes with it too, Tank Bigsby.
That's Bigsby. Right. Can you imagine going down to Paycor Stadium on a Sunday and going, we're going to get our guy Tank Bigsby.
No doubt.
He's going to carry the ball.
That's big time there.
That's big time.
That's big time. That guy was meant to play football.
That's right.
Yep.
Tank Bigsby sounds like a 1990s like kids sports movie villain, like the big power hitter.
Yes.
Tank Bigsby.
Love that guy.
He would definitely be your replacement for Mixon too. He's a every down back. So
love it.
His real name is Cartavius.
Tank.
I'll stick to
Cartavius Tank Bigsby from Hogansville, Georgia. All right.
Let's go get him.
All right, so is that who you picked? Tank?
No, I'm picking the cornerback. But Tank, if he's available, might not be with that name.
All right. Okay. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year a couple of years ago. All right. My 3 on there have a couple of running backs. I have the Spears kid out of Tulane, who was the American Conference Offensive Player of the Year. Kendre Miller, who had a great season. Unfortunately, he got hurt at the end of the year, did not play in the college football playoff. He's out of TCU. And then the tight end out of Penn State, Brenton Strange. Lock, stock, and barrel for me. If Spears is there, that's the guy for me.
Yeah.
I want the speed. I want the home run hitter. I can't have these backs that, there's nothing wrong with 7 and 8 yard runs. You got to have those guys. But you got to have a guy every now and again to bang. Whether it's catching one in the backfield, gets to the second level, as they say, and can beat linebackers and DBs down the sideline for touchdowns. The Bengals don't have that in their offense. They need it.
That or the guys that they do have need to start doing that.
Chris Evans,
Chris Evans.
man of Michigan.
Oh, my
Captain America.
How many years this guy been here now?
Just the one. He was two.
2
He's
years.
been there for
2 years, right?
Yeah.
All right.
He was given a chance in the Super Bowl. He just
We gave him a chance at punt return and kick return. That didn't go well.
That did not go well at all.
No, it did not go well.
No, definitely not.
We've been searching for a returner ever since we lost Pac-Man.
Yeah, you're right.
Haven't had a good returner since then.
Evans grew up a big-time Ohio State fan. I'm reading.
Well, that's what's wrong.
But he went to a tryout camp that Michigan had in Indianapolis, and that's where Jim Harbaugh found him, at a tryout camp. Tried to court his parents, and he finally said, okay. Okay. Good enough. But since he's joined the I'm having a hard time understanding here because I've really never paid a lot of attention to Chris Evans in college. Chris Evans never ran for 700 yards in a season in college.
right.
Not one time.
Yeah. So the knock on him was he was suspended, I believe.
Yeah, he had academic issues throughout his entire career there.
Yeah, so he was meant to be their starting running back at one point, and he just couldn't see the field because he was struggling academically, and that's kind of the reason why he never touched the field, like you.
He was
point
suspended
out.
the entire 2019 season.
Yeah,
He came back in 2020 and got hurt. Only played in 6 games. That's when the Bengals were able to get him in the 6th round. And you're thinking this guy's ready to take over as a primary back?
no, I'm saying he can be the change of pace back. I'm keeping Mixon.
Okay. All right. Tank Bigsby.
We got to get a Tank Bigsby jersey like on order immediately if they draft.
Oh,
Tank
if
Bigsby.
honest to God, if the Bengals draft Tank Bigsby, I'm getting a custom Bigsby jersey just because I picked.
No, you got to get Tank on the back. You
Oh,
can't put
Tank,
Bigsby
yeah,
on the back.
Tank,
Yeah,
You got to
you
put
gotta have
Tank on the back.
Gotta have Tank.
Tank. It's got to say Tank.
No doubt. No doubt.
I will get a Tank. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this.
Only jersey you've ever had.
Brett Favre. I have every Brett Favre jersey.
Favre.
Every Brett Favre jersey. That's
a-
plural, like a Jets and a
I have
Vikings.
a Jets
and
jersey, a Vikings jersey, a Packers jersey.
Wow.
Favorite quarterback of all time. Did not get a Falcons jersey, though. That's the outlier.
I love the guy.
Tom,
Love Brett Favre.
did you ever have jerseys growing up?
No.
Never.
No.
I mean, obviously we got the jerseys
That's the
hanging on
only
the
one.
wall.
Those are the only 2 I own right there. Both of them were given to me.
Never been a jersey.
No. I mean, I mean, it's not, saying that it makes me better or worse or anything else. Some guys are into them, and I think it's awesome. It's cool. How about you? You have any jerseys?
Well, I have jerseys. I was hoping you're like, I had a George Brett jersey or something like that just back in the 80s. But yeah, I've got a bunch of jerseys. I like jerseys.
Which one has gotten the most wear?
My Anthony Rizzo jersey, without a doubt. I've worn that a bunch.
Do you have one from both the Cubbies and the Yanks?
I do not have one from the Yanks. No, I just got Cubbies, and I got 2 though. One's for the 2014 100-year anniversary of the Wrigley Field patch, and then a 2016 with the gold trim because they were world champions back in 2016. If you don't recall, Tom.
I do remember. Yes, I do remember. I bet Casey, you're a Jersey guy, right?
Yeah, I'm a jersey guy.
And which one has gotten the most wear and tear?
Probably one that I don't own anymore, and that would be a Andy Dalton jersey.
Yes.
That was
Ooh.
that one actually saw some hate. got some tears and some
From you or from
yeah,
Alexandra?
from angrily taking it off and some stretches, some tears here and there.
So I don't know.
I think that
you
jersey's
didn't like
long
burn
gone.
it or like cut it
no.
up or anything like that, right?
No.
Nothing we have to start notifying the FBI, profile people about, none of that kind of stuff.
No, it was just like when you get mad that Andy Dalton's cost you a game, you just you're trying to take the jersey off. in a bunch of layers, and you're out there in the stadium, and you're like, might cause a few tears here and there. But
and Paul, your Favre's, is that did the Favre? I want to know which one. You have more than Favre.
No, I legit.
That's it.
Brett Favre is the only. Yeah, I mean, I've had to do a lot of discernment and coping since the Brett Favre news has emerged here in the last few years. But
I mean, come on. When he played for the Packers, he was
unbelievable. He was my favorite quarterback growing up. And then I wasn't a Packers fan. I just followed Favre. Went to the Vikings. I think that was the last time I cried about a sporting event. Was when the Vikings lost.
Yeah, that was a hard one.
When the Vikings lost to the Saints, and he threw that interception, and then they kicked the field goal in overtime.
Yep.
I think that's the last time I cried about a sporting event.
I remember we got Tommy G coming up here in a minute. I think I've told the story on the show before that I was in to do a Packer game, and Favre had just been named the starter a few weeks before, and he was not playing well to start his career. And Mike Holmgren looked us in the eye when we had our meeting with him, and he said, if Favre doesn't play well this week, he said, you guys can't use this on the air. He said, if Favre doesn't play well this week, he's not starting next week. I'm tired of watching the picks. I'm tired of watching bad decisions. He's just, he's not doing it right now. And we got to be better. Well, that game he went off in the rest of history on his way to the Hall of Fame. All right, is Tommy G ready?
He will be ready in just a second.
All right. Now, Casey, I'm going to ask you to help me with some of this interview. We only have Tommy G for about 10 minutes. So, I got a couple things I want to ask him. But you follow this religiously, and so I want to know if there's something you want to ask him before we let him go today. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Radio voice of FC Cincinnati. I told the story. I was downtown last weekend, had to go to a charity event. Tommy, thanks for joining us. Are you traveling?
Tom, great to be here.
Are you traveling up to New England today?
I'm on the move later today. We'll get sorted for that game later today. So I'm doing some family stuff this morning. Gonna watch the ponies for a little bit, and then I'll have the call tomorrow night with the top two teams in Major League Soccer. But can I tell you a non-soccer related story quick?
Of course.
This is an exclusive, never shared before, but ties our two broadcast careers together. So you obviously did some Bearcat stuff a couple decades ago, right?
Yep.
And I was with the Bearcats for 9 years and was their sideline reporter for football when Brian Kelly came on. And I went by Tommy Glitter on the air at the time. And my boss, Mike Waddell, calls me into his office and says, you're going to be the sideline reporter for football. Sounds great. Here's the deal. You lose the M and the Y on your name. And he had a list of great broadcasters who go by Tom, not Tommy, to prove the point. And your name was atop it. He asked if I wanted to add the H to go by Thom.
Oh, God.
But he said the only way you get to be the sideline reporter for the Cincinnati Bearcats is if you agree to go by Tom Glitter on the air. You can't be Tom anymore. Tommy is immature, all this. I said, whatever. I had the opportunity to be a sideline reporter for a college football team. So you could have called me Tony and I would have still done the games. But so that kind of ties us together a little bit. And then, of course, Dan and Jim called me Tommy all the time. So that wasn't tied to my arrangement, but that ties us together.
Everybody calls me Tommy. Everybody in my life. My friends, people in the broadcast world, whoever. They all call me Tommy. I think it's a term of effect. Well, when did you all of a sudden bring Tom Me back? Because that's what you go by now.
Because nobody knows how to say my last name. So it's Tommy G to everybody. Like, everybody just calls me Tommy G. So, I mean, slowly I let Dan and Jim. Like, if I introduced myself, I would call myself Tom. And I do still on the air introduce myself as Tom. But everybody calls me Tommy, so that's Tommy G works. It's great.
All right. Well, Tommy, I want to ask you here now. Okay, now, I mean, I played soccer growing up as a kid, one of the great high school programs in Greater Cincinnati when I was growing up. We got to a state championship game out at Anderson High School. I loved playing the sport. Professionally, I've had a slow time warming up to it a little bit, but I'm moving in the right direction here. I got to tell you, when I was down in the Over-the-Rhine area last Saturday night, I mean, it hit me right between the eyes. And I've not been to TQL Stadium yet, so shame on me. But I got to tell you, I mean, this following is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It's remarkable. And first of all, just say the word, and I'll get you into TQL Stadium.
Well, thank
so
you.
we can get that set up for you. But yeah, the atmosphere it's amazing. And what's really cool is that TQL Stadium is finally becoming this fortress that was the plan all along. And one of my favorite stories to tell, Dominic Kinnear is an assistant coach on Pat Noonan's staff. And I don't know that there's an assistant coach in Major League Soccer that has more experience than Dom. He's been everywhere. He's done everything across the league. He's won MLS Cup as a head coach. And the first time I ever met him was at TQL Stadium. We were doing some media day stuff. I let him in. He asked me to take him out to the field, and I took him out there, and he just was like, wow. He goes, I've seen it on TV, and it's so much more impressive in person. And he said, if we can get this thing going, this was before he had been on the staff, his first week on staff at FC Cincinnati. He goes, if we can get this thing going, then FC Cincinnati will be unstoppable in Major League Soccer, because you have the ownership. You have the ownership group and the funding. You have the training facility for practice out there that's beautiful and world-class. You have now a world-class stadium, and you have the support. So if we can get the product on the field going, then this is going to be one of the best clubs in Major League Soccer. And in short time, in less than a year and a half, they've done that. And the record proves it. What they did last year proves it. And when we played Seattle, it's about a month ago, the atmosphere was off the charts. And it was a cold night. The weather wasn't great, but it was one of the best teams in the Western Conference and felt like a really big playoff match. And the Philadelphia game felt that way. And honestly, that's how it should feel every night. And it's really exciting.
Everybody, Tommy, loves a great turnaround story, okay? I don't care what sport it is. I don't care if it's a sport of life. Everybody likes a nice turnaround story. Explain in the most simplistic terms for maybe some of our viewers, and there are thousands of thousands tuned in right now. Explain to them, how has FC Cincinnati in one calendar year completely flipped the script to now become, if not the best team, one of the top two teams in the MLS?
Yeah, it's a great question. And first, it's a credit to Chris Albright for going and getting Pat Noonan and knowing that he could come in and change the culture for this club, because there were problems in the dressing room. There was a team that was split probably in some ways and had so much turnover at head coach and a general manager who had handcuffed them in many ways with moves, that Albright had to come in and get the roster in a better place, and he has very much done that and really hit on every single guy that he has signed or traded for or acquired or bought. They're all contributing in one way or another, and that was following years of misses as far as building the roster. And with the way the MLS roster rules work, if you make a bunch of misses, you're going to be in a really bad way. Okay, so it's great he got talent in, but Pat Noonan had to win the culture. And he had to change that locker room, and he has done it. And he has guys who are buying in, and he's getting the best of guys who maybe hadn't had a ton of success. Brandon Vasquez is a perfect example, a young guy who got to Major League Soccer at a very young age. He was in Atlanta behind one of the greatest strikers the league has ever seen, in Joseph Martinez, and didn't get many opportunities. He came to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati kept adding guys ahead of him on the depth chart who weren't necessarily performing, but Brandon wasn't getting a chance. Well, Pat gave him a chance, and he was best 11. He rewarded him with best 11 performance last year and 18 goals. So, he's gotten the most out of some guys, and he has really built a winning culture in that dressing room, and I can't applaud him enough for doing that.
Well, I mean, I talk about it regularly. I love listening to his post-game comments. I mean, he just lays it right out there on the line. When they don't play well, he says they don't play well. They might win a game like they did last week. He's like, it ain't good enough. We got to be better here and we got to be better there. I mean, I love hearing the accountability part of this. Help me with something else I've talked about here, Tommy. I understand that playing overseas is the goal, right? It's like being a Japanese player and wanting to play baseball in Major League Baseball in the United States. But Casey is a big soccer follower, and he was explaining to me a couple of weeks ago how, they might lose this guy, they might lose that guy, and all that kind of thing. And it seemed like the enthusiasm level went from here to, oh, boy, we could be in trouble, and now it's kind of back up again. Is that something that's going to go on regularly through the year? Do their players become more and more in demand elsewhere?
Yeah, for sure. And look, it's kind of a double-edged sword in some ways, and it's unique to soccer because the top leagues in the sport in the world are not in the United States. It's in Europe, whether you talk about England or Spain or Italy or France. That's where the top clubs are, and that's where the top money is. So, for example, this week the Brenner move became official as he'll move to the top level in Italy. Playing the top level in Italy is better than playing the top level in Major League Soccer, and there's more money to be made there. So, a record-setting transfer and a transfer that's top 10 outgoing in Major League Soccer is a great thing. Look, if you're selling guys like that, that means you're doing well. The key is having a general manager like Chris Albright who's going to be able to turn around and use that incoming money that's been reported at $10, $11 million for the transfer, be able to use those resources on top of what Carl Lindner and the rest of the ownership group had given him to build the roster, and use that money to make the team better. And Chris is already working on it, and then hopefully soon there's some news, about incoming players. And if Brandon Vasquez does really well, teams in Germany and England are going to be calling for him, and that's okay. It's a little bit unfortunate in that you're not going to see a Brandon Vasquez score 18 goals a year for 10 years for FC Cincinnati. That's just the reality, but it's a good thing because if you're successful, then you're going to see those outgoing moves. And if you're the worst team in the league, like FC Cincinnati was for 3 years, then nobody's calling for your guys.
Right.
Look, I worked at the University of Cincinnati for 9 years, and people were calling for the head football coaches, right? I was there when Mark D'Antonio left. I was there when Brian Kelly left. I was there when Butch Jones left. And people are calling for your guys. If nobody's calling for your guy, you got a problem. And it's the same thing, in the global football market. People are going to be calling for your guys, and the club, that means ownership, the technical staff, the general manager, are going to have to make decisions as to when it's the right moment to sell somebody. In the meantime, Carl Lindner really wants to win this year, so it's not going to be a fire sale on the roster this year. But as the team continues to be successul, sure, they're going to field a lot of calls.
Well, Tommy, safe travels today. We thank you. We know you got family time here today. You got a busy schedule.
It's all good.
Fantastic. You're doing a great job, and we'd love to have you come back on the program again.
Yeah, anytime. Happy to do it. Next time I'll try not to do it while I'm in transit, but happy to join you, and you guys keep killing it, doing a great job, and good to chat with you.
Thanks so much, Tommy. Appreciate it. Safe travels up to New England for the big one tomorrow night, Casey. Big one tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
Big one.
I mean,
two best teams.
Yeah.
Got to be ready to go.
They'll be dialed in, ready to go.
All right, Ham and Eggers, take it away before we get to Jay Morrison. We're going to talk more about the Bengals, what they did last night, what they got coming up today and tomorrow. Ham and Eggers. Big weekend.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Big door swing. You kind of get the impression of what the bladder is doing, depending on how big the door swing is when it comes out, how fast we got to get out of the room when he's running out of here. All right, Casey, what do we got for us? It's the State of the Union.
State of the Union.
How we feeling?
Where
did you watch the draft last night?
I watched it at my house.
Okay.
I just watched it on the couch, enjoyed it. I mean, they didn't make their pick until I want to say like 11:50, almost 12 o'clock. So I mean, it was late. So
yeah,
I was really surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but there was not a lot of negative responses to the pick last night. I thought we were going to see a lot more negativity with Myles Murphy, but in all honesty, I think everyone's handling this very well. I think everyone sees what I see, which is second and third rounds, there's going to be a lot of guys there that the Bengals can take that we're all going to be happy with. I mean, it might not be your favorite player, and it might not be the position you want, but when I look at the second round, I really, as much as I saw in the first round, I don't see a spot where I'm like, man, if they pick that guy, they're making a mistake. There's like 5 corners in this draft in the second round that I really like. There's probably, 4 or 5 tight ends I really like in the second round. Like, there's a lot of guys with a lot, in this draft class, there's a lot of depth to it.
Sure.
In those positions. A lot of running backs in the later rounds that I like. This team is going to be all right. This draft is going to be pretty good for them. So what I want to say is I'm proud of the chat for not freaking out.
We got the chat power rankings coming up today.
We do.
And there has been a massive shakeup. Reed gave us a little preview today before Off the Bench started. There's been a big shakeup in the chat power rankings, so you're going to want to stick around. We have box lunch coming up after Off the Bench today. So make sure you stay on, watch the end of the show, see if you get ranked. Top 5 in the chat from this week. And again, it's just based on your performance from the whole week. It's not overall. It's from the week. But we'll see how it goes. We have Jay Morrison coming up here in just a second. He's actually in right now. We're going to get him in here in just a second and talk more about the draft and how everything went last night. Get Jay's opinion on it all.
Look. There are gamers and then there are alleged gamers in this world. The world is full of gamers. You can break it down really into just 2 camps. I know your generation likes everything to be gray. Okay? But there's black and there's white. All right? There are gamers in life and there are non-gamers in life. And it is almost 100% guaranteed across the board. There are few exceptions, a number of them my friends, who if they go to Ohio University, there's a very good chance they are a gamer. Okay? Jay Morrison falls into the gamer camp. He put his head on the pillow about 3:30 this morning. Mm-hmm. And I said, I had asked Jay, hey, look, would you mind coming on? It's going to be a late night. He says, it is going to be a late night. I said, look, if you can't do it, I totally understand. I get it. Not only is he here at 11:30, I get a text from him at 8-something. Ready to go. Now, that's a gamer, Jay Morrison. I mean, you got the coffee going. That's okay.
Yeah.
But here you are. How was last night? I mean, where were you? What were you doing?
So we hang out in the media room at Paycor Stadium, and everybody, all the media, TV, print media, all that are in the room. We're watching the draft on the TVs, and then as soon as they make a pick upstairs, Zach and whoever the coordinator is for that side of the ball come down and hold a press conference. So we do that in person, then we go back into the media room, and whoever the pick is, they call him on the phone, and we interview him on a conference call on a speakerphone. So that'll be the plan tonight as well. That'll be the plan all day on Saturday. And it makes for a long night. By the time I wrote my story and we recorded our podcast, it was after 2:00 when I was driving home. And as you mentioned, going to Ohio University, it's by far not the first time in my life I've seen 3 a.m.
Amen. Amen. Court Street's better, though, than 71 or 75. All right. Absolutely. Were you surprised by the pick?
No, I actually we had a beat writer mock on Wednesday, and I actually mocked Myles Murphy as their pick. I always thought he was a perfect pick for the Bengals. I just didn't think he would be there. And what I like about these beat writer mocks we do, it's every guy that's making a pick covers that team and is plugged in with that team and knows their trends and their needs and what they're thinking. Yes, there's smoke screens, but you still those feel like the most realistic mocks. And I was surprised he was available, and Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah, was available. And I thought about it for a little bit, and I just said I just really didn't think they were going to take a non-premium position like tight end with a premium pick in the first round, especially in a draft where there's so many more tight ends. The drop off from Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid to the rest of these tight ends is not near as steep as what that drop off is going to be now from all these edge rushers. 7 of them go in the first round. Teams that didn't get one, that want one, that didn't get one in the first round are going to have a tough time picking or finding a really good one as you go second, third round.
Did you find yourself at all? I mean, knowing everything you just said, but I think for guys like me who are sitting at home and who, like you, are Cincinnati guys, right? Greater Cincinnati guys, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching ESPN just pound and pound and pound the video of Michael Mayer. Did you think maybe that maybe some emotion would come into this thing, or is it just all about this is what we think is and who we think's the best guy and the position is right, meeting the talent? That's what they're doing. Did you think maybe for a split second they go Mayer there?
Yeah, I mean, he was one of four guys. You could see it was going to be Murphy. It was going to be Joey Porter Jr., the cornerback from Penn State, Michael Mayer, and then Nolan Smith, who went the very next pick, or he went 2 picks later to the Eagles. Those were the four that really felt like they were the most in play. The thing about Mayer is the Bengals play more 11 personnel than any team in the league, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end. So I don't want to disparage his game. I just don't think he is as polished of a blocker as they need the tight end to be. If you're only going to have one out there, you can't put Drew Sample out there on rundowns and then put Michael Mayer in when you're going to pass. You're tipping your hand, you're giving everything away. They need a tight end that can really go in, dig out safeties, be a force in the run game blocking. And I don't know that Mayer may get there. I just don't know that he's there yet. He was spread out so often at Notre Dame and an incredible weapon in the passing game. And yes, the Bengals would love to get a tight end that can really kind of take advantage of the middle of the field with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all those weapons opening up or taking out the top or trying to take off the top. But you got all these teams playing too high safety. It's just going to create openings in the middle of the field. And I just think they're looking more for a guy that can develop more in the passing game, that comes in ready to be a physical presence and a blocker, a guy with traits that they can develop. They feel set with Irv Smith as their starter this year. They don't have a tight end under contract beyond this year. So I do think that position is definitely in place starting here in round 2 tonight. But I mocked Murphy, and when it got to that point, if I was ranking those 4 that I said was the top 4, Mayer probably would have been 4th out of 4 on my list.
Yeah. Okay, now we move to rounds 2 and 3. Again, we've heard Duke Tobin talk regularly that, if you believe a guy is a third-round talent, even though it's a position of need, I'm not going to take him in the second round because you draft him in the second round doesn't make him a second-round player, right? So when you look at where they are positionally at this point, and knowing as much as you've done in preparing for this draft and doing mock drafts and so on and so forth, by the time they get to their pick tonight, what positions are going to be out there where you say to yourself, okay, this is one where the player they probably have on their board meets the need here? I mean, do you think it is a tight end? Will they consider trading up to get a tight end? Do you see anything like that happening? Or they sit where they are, and by the time we get there, they're probably looking at what?
I think it's a cornerback. I'm not ruling out tight end. I think that's right there with an option. But again, it's kind of a matter of what's there at the moment and what is anticipated to be there the next time they get up on the clock at 92. There's just so many of those tight ends in that late second, third, fourth round. The corners are going to be drying up quick. And they've never done this before. If they take a cornerback, it'll mark the second year in a row they've gone defense with their first 2 picks. That has never happened in Bengals history. But it feels like it kind of follows that same path. They've got 4 quality starters on the D line, but they draft a guy that can go into the rotation and be a cheaper contract to take over when some of these guys move on. Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson, they're making so much money. You kind of need the same thing at cornerback. It's not Lou's not going to work him in and work a rotation, but you need a cornerback that Cheeto's number one coming off an ACL. They expect him to be ready, but this is the final year of his deal. It's kind of like the Cam Taylor-Britt pick last year. It was a plan more for the future. They ended up needed him right away because of the Cheeto injury. So I really do. I think there's going to be there's a number of cornerbacks, I'd say 4 or 5, that I think they would target if available at 60. But you can't rule out running back either. I mean, Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, that's another position where never felt like they would do it in the first round. Jahmyr Gibbs, I was really interesting. I thought that was going to be a really interesting decision if he was available, and the Lions shocked everybody taking him at 12. But if I'm ranking the top 3 tonight, it's going to be cornerback, tight end, and then running back. Who knows? Wide receiver, they could send a shot across the bow and take a wide receiver like Cedric Tillman from Tennessee that kind of looks and feels like a replacement for T. Higgins. If they're not confident they're going to get that deal done, again, you get the guy the year before you really need him.
Boy, that's a fascinating scenario there. We've talked about that regularly on this show because I'm in the very minority in believing that you're just not going to have sustained greatness keeping Chase, Burrow, and Higgins all at the same time. I know we could debate that from now until the end of time. Do you think that, all we've talked about for the better part of a year, going back to when they brought in all the free agents last year, Kappa, Karras, Lyle Collins, that whole group, they suffered through the injuries at the end of the year. Last week, Collins shows up and said, hey, in a month or two from now, I'd put a brace on this thing and I feel like it come back and play. Now, whether or not you're buying that, you were there, I don't know. Do you think all of a sudden, though, that the need for a tackle for this team is starting to dwindle by the day?
Yeah, I do. I think they have so many options and they feel good about their options. And I think that you're going to see them take an offensive lineman, but it's going to be more in that 4th, 5th round, a guy that can maybe play tackle and guard, because they almost have too many right now. And if you're going to have to start cutting some of these guys, and that's going to be maybe one of the biggest keys beyond can he actually play is, does he have that versatility? There's guys out there that fit that mold. That's kind of why they're in those middle rounds, because they don't have that defined position. So I don't know that it's a need per se. I thought tackle could have been in play if Darnell Wright had fallen and he was there at 28. I'm not sure that he wouldn't have been the pick, but I don't see it here in round 2. I do think they'll address the O-line later, probably tomorrow. But who knows if you don't know what their board looks like, and if a guy they really like does fall to them at 60, or maybe they don't wait till 60. This is what they did last year. They traded up to get Cam Taylor-Britt. This team rarely trades up in the draft. If there's a guy that they have that great conviction on, you could see that happening. But I don't think tackle is in play at 60. Maybe 92, maybe the 3rd round, but more than likely I would say tomorrow.
Okay, the last thing, and I'll let you go. I can't thank you enough for your time.
Sure.
Jonah Williams, ultimately, if you had a crystal ball, you think he ends up being this year fill in the blank?
I think he goes into training camp as the starting right tackle. He's not going to sit out. He's not going to give up $12.6 million guaranteed. If so much of this comes down to, you mentioned it, Collins' recovery. And yeah, a lot of athletes say slap a brace on it, rub some dirt on it, I'm good to go. We don't know. I mean, you're a big man, a lot of weight on that knee, and you're talking it was Christmas Eve when the injury happened. So still a long shot in my mind that he could be ready for week 1. So you get into training camp, Jonah reps there. They got Cody Ford that they like a lot, Jackson Carman. They've got so many options there. And if one of them is out playing Jonah Williams, if another team, if a contender has a tackle go down, all of a sudden they're willing to offer a little more in trade value for Jonah Williams and they feel good about LC. You could see them moving Jonah before the start of the season, but unless they drafted a tackle last night or even in the second round tonight that they really, really like, I don't think you're going to see Jonah be traded until training camp or maybe even the trade deadline at week 8. The one thing I know for sure is Jonah Williams and La'el Collins are not going to be on this roster, not going to be on the opening 53-man roster. That's too much money at one position, and you're already paying your left tackle, all that, Orlando Brown Jr., all that money. You got the Burrow extension coming, maybe Higgins, who knows? But it's just I don't see there's any way that they have both of those. They go into the season with both Jonah and LC.
Jay, we can't thank you enough for your time, my friend. I know you're going to have another
sure.
late night tonight and very busy tomorrow. So thank you so very, very much and hope you have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Good talking to you.
Jay Morrison from The Athletic. You can read his stuff. It is fantastic. I mean, I say it all the time, and I'm not getting paid by him. In fact, I'm paying for my subscription. It's the best place to check everything out. Do you know that today, Mr. McCollister, that looking ahead to the Bengals here, I got to find the doggone article. I think I closed it out. I've got the website open, but I closed it out on what the Bengals might be looking to do, their picks anyway, for the second and third rounds here. I believe they had them taking the kid from UCLA at running back in the second round, right?
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
So this was the mock NFL draft today. Had the Bengals at 60, taking the running back out of UCLA. And then in the third round, had your Cincinnati Bengals taking Nick Saldivari, offensive tackle / guard from the Old Dominion Monarchs in Norfolk, Virginia. Norfolk, Virginia guy.
Well, I'm not a fan of that mock draft, mainly because
What mock draft do you like?
One where we don't take a running back with the second overall pick or the second round pick. That will start there. And Saldivari, he's a late riser. I didn't have time to watch him, but from what I've heard, he has what Jay Morrison was talking about, where he's got that versatility to play tackle and guard. He's in that range with the Blake Freeland type players, that third round, bottom of the second. So maybe we see that, but I can't justify getting a running back in the second round either. Not when you have corners on the board still. More than likely, you're going to have corners on the board still. Other positions of need that, make more sense for this team. They've got 3 running backs on the roster. I'm just going to put it like that. They got 3 already. That is a afterthought in my mind. They're going to have to figure it out at the later rounds. And what I hope happens is they pick a guy that is best player available, and that is not going to be a running back at that high, if you ask me.
All right, I want to shift gears away for a second and bring up 2 topics here. One of them is, it's been brought up in the chat that it's a shame that here we are not talking about the Reds and that we're talking about football. Does that make any sense to either one of you right now?
Well, the Reds didn't play yesterday either, but we talked about them when they were winning. We talked about them, 2 days ago?
You put the Viking helmet on.
Yeah, I mean, they've been winning. There's just not a lot to talk about. We did our preview yesterday.
Which, by the way, that young man got a hit off Ohtani last night.
Ryan Noda.
Yes, he did. How about that?
How about
he went
that?
1 for 3. He ought to be begging to come on this show every single day.
The Brennaman bump.
Well, that can come in a number of different ways, good and bad. The last thing I want to talk about is, and again, if you've joined us from the very beginning of the show, going back to August of last year, I have said the single biggest sports story was going to be in this year and in this decade. It is going to be the collapse of Bally Sports and what that means to franchises in baseball, the NBA, the NHL. A preemptive first strike was launched yesterday. Did you guys see this story in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yes.
The Phoenix Suns of the NBA, the Phoenix Mercury of the WNBA, announced yesterday, late last night, that they have signed a new agreement which will put their games on television, on free television, an over-the-air local station. So it would be like here in town, the Reds announcing they're going on Channel 5, 9, 12, 19, whatever.
Right.
2.8 million households in Arizona will see these games for free. They're also going to stream the games online, a brand new service that they've helped create called Kissway, is how I think you pronounce it. Diamond Sports is filing a lawsuit against the Phoenix Suns on this, saying they breached a contract.
I don't think so. If you're not getting paid, how are you upholding your end of the contract?
Well, the thing I don't know, and I was skimming through this article as I saw it, is that, most of the basketball teams got paid because they didn't file for bankruptcy, Diamond Sports, right, until it came time to start paying Major League Baseball teams. And even some of them got paid their rights fees. Trying to see here. It says NBA and NHL teams had not been affected to date by the bankruptcy because their seasons were near an end at the time of the filing. And Diamond agreed to pay in full all those teams for this just completed regular season. There has been no such commitment made by Bally Sports for the year 23-24. Do you think we end up seeing that with the Cincinnati Reds?
We should.
I would not be shocked, Tom. I would not be shocked. I don't know the alternative, but I would not be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should is more the question, like, whether they should do it or not. Because I think they would definitely help the product, at least getting eyeballs on it. And they're doing the fans a favor a little bit to actually showing it for free. I mean, that might sound bad.
How long has it been Bally Sports Ohio?
Only for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. I believe it was 21, 22. This would be the third year, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder. I really do wonder. I mean, because if I'm the Reds, you can take it to the bank. I mean, look, and I have no inside knowledge, but I was born at night. I wasn't born last night. You can mark it down that the Reds have had multiple conversations with every over-the-air television potential partner in this town ever since this whole Bally thing came down the pike. And then it became official they didn't get their money 2 weeks ago when that story broke after they didn't pay the Guardians, the Brewers, the Diamondbacks, and another team that are all involved in a lawsuit against Bally Sports, Diamond Sports, in conjunction with Major League Baseball. So all of these games are going to end up probably being split up because, with NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox affiliates. Part of being an affiliate is your obligation and commitment to airing their prime time shows. It's the reason why in the old days, when Channel 5 was the TV rights holder of the Reds, I was doing the games back then, but they had them before I got there, but I was doing them then, is that NBC, we were doing like 50, 55 games. That was the most clearance we could get from NBC if you were going to be an NBC affiliate. So, all four of the big boys, if you will, here in town would face that kind of roadblock. Now, you start dipping into Channel 64. Is there such thing still as a WB network? Are they still involved in all that?
CW?
Oh, CW.
Yeah.
Okay.
CW
So, I mean, maybe
exists.
there's some obligations and commitments there. I don't know. But there is no doubt that the Reds are going to end up somewhere or somewheres. And people, if they show up somewhere and expect people to pay for those games and watch them at this point in time, every market's different. People don't have the appetite to pay for that stuff right now, unless it's Casey paying for Apple TV to watch soccer.
Correct. But I'll pay for a winning product.
So you're saying if FC Cincinnati stunk, you wouldn't buy it?
Well, my fiance would probably want to buy it, but I wouldn't.
Well, she was a soccer player.
Yeah. I mean, she's a diehard fan, more than I ever could be. But I wouldn't be watching it. I'll put it like that. I would not sit through the crap that soccer can be. I think when you're bad at soccer, it's really bad. Like, it's miserable. So.
Okay. All right. We got a cherry on, or anything else on your mind, fellas? Do we have box lunch today?
We do have box lunch today. Chat Power Rankings coming up later today.
Ooh.
Big shakeup in the Chat Power Rankings.
Really?
Yeah.
Shake up in the top 5.
Big shakeup in the top 5.
Lots of
major developments, Tom.
I think a lot of our viewers and friends that take the time to jump in the chat, I think this is important to them to be moving up in the rankings, and heartbreaking to start dropping in the rankings. You agree or disagree with that? It means something to them to be in the top 5.
Well, sometimes you just got to be better, and sometimes life, it just throws curveballs at you.
Gotta be ready for them. Dialed in.
Alex Wallace claims that the power rankings are rigged.
Rigged? How would they be rigged?
That's a good question.
What does that mean?
Well, now that's not a fair question. I mean, there are possibilities that are endless in any question like that. I mean, you might have a relationship with, just pick somebody. I mean, Casey goes to ball games with Sir Boy Wonder, so let's use that as an example. He might say, he being our good friend Sir Boy Wonder 513, he might say, "Hey, Casey, next time we go down to a ball game, I got you covered, big fella. First 4 or 5, cold beers, they're on me. But keep me in mind, my man, when the old chat rankings come out."
Well, I can just reassure you, whether you all believe me or not, he has not done that.
Well, he doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
He's a man of honor.
Well, and the other thing, too, is I see somebody in here asking or pointing out that Everett and Mousecop better be in the rankings. We haven't seen Everett today.
Everett has not been in the.
He
was in the chat earlier, wasn't he?
There are some people that think that is your burner.
Everett Henry.
No,
not my burner.
We can prove that one.
He came to our live show.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. But I'm just saying it was thrown out there earlier today. Right. And some want to know if Casey has gone out of his way to silence Everett.
I am not silenced Everett.
I need Jordan back.
Jordan Earhart?
Yes. Because, the other day I got on him a little bit, but by the end, we were all singing Kumbaya together. He was still in the chat, but I've not seen him back since. Maybe he's got something going on. But, yeah, what is this nonsense? The Cubs have won 17 pennants and the Reds have won only 9. Your grandfather wasn't even alive for 16 of those pennants.
Not true.
I mean, he was alive. Your great-great-grandfather for 16 of them.
Did they win 16 pennants before 1945 and then have only won 1 since? Yeah, but still counts. They still count, Tom.
They do count.
Golly. But for the record, you're talking about if Casey can be bribed to be in the chat rankings by Sir Boy. I don't know if Casey can be. I absolutely can. If you want to take me to a Reds ball game, buy me a couple beers, that'll get you in the chat power rankings like that.
Every week.
Right. It was just bribery. I'm open to them. Just saying. If you want to be in the chat power rankings, got to dish out a little cash.
Well, I didn't say I wouldn't be bribed. I'm just saying that Sir Boy did not try to bribe me.
Okay. Paul, could you be bribed?
Oh, man, I could be bribed. I have not accepted bribes, though.
Key said, someone say beer? All right. Well, that's coming up at the end of your show today, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Taylor.
I didn't get a chance because you snuck out of here when I ran off to the men's room and we took a break. I didn't get a chance to thank you for helping us out here the last couple of days and being a part of our whole draft thing.
It was a blast. Absolutely.
All right, let's think out loud here now for a minute, okay? I will get to work on different people over the weekend, depending on who the Bengals take in a second round, third round, kind of like we had with Don Munson today, right? To try to get some more information on whatever players the Bengals take. But how do we want to handle this as a group? on Monday. I mean, there's going to be hundreds of names that will be selected, right? Okay. Are we going to go through every Bengals pick and Casey and all of us talk about these things? How do we want to do this?
Well, I think I will definitely talk about every Bengals pick. I'm not sure if what you guys feel like.
Well, I'll be in the lab all weekend.
Right, are you kidding me?
Whatever you want to do, Casey, I'm right there with you lockstep.
Me and Paul are the draft experts at Chatterbox Sports, so yeah, of course.
Well, we'll talk about all the Bengals picks, and we'll definitely have to talk about Will Levis. We won't be able to talk about that until Monday. We'll talk about some of the other prospects that dropped and some of the ones that maybe weren't drafted that we thought maybe should be drafted. And maybe we'll have to
Here we go. Does Stetson Bennett get picked?
Yeah, does Stetson Bennett get drafted? What do you think, Tom?
Does Stetson Bennett get picked over the weekend?
Yes, he will get picked. It'll be in the last round. He might be Mr. Irrelevant. But somebody is going to take him on a flyer. And why not? Why not? All the guy does is make plays and win games on the biggest stages, right? He might be smaller than everybody else. He might be X, Y, and Z. But for the last 2 years, every time he stepped on the field against guys that were number one draft picks at every position on the field, taking on whoever it is they take on, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, whoever it is, all he did was carve them up.
Bengals? Backup?
I told you the guy I like. I like the guy at UCLA.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah. He gives you a total change of pace look. Can run it, dynamic. If you want to do something a little different, that's what I would do.
Not a lot of faith in Brandon Allen.
No, none. N-U-N, none.
Come on, he's a hog.
N-U-N, none.
They haven't signed
I've said
him
that
yet.
for a year.
I mean, clearly they're looking at position if he's not re-signed yet.
All right, before we get out of here today, I got to get 2 personal items out of the way, and then I'll let you guys get to your show if you don't mind.
I have a question to ask you, too.
Go ahead.
Have you ever finished Breaking Bad?
I am down to the final 5 episodes.
Perfect. Love it. Stay on you until you finish those. It's good.
It's going to be a little while, and we're in the meat now of lacrosse season. We played 3 games last week. We play tonight. Play 3 games next week. We got senior night. We got a lot of big senior stuff coming up, graduation stuff. It's tough to sneak it in. But I will get it done, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So thank you for the recommendation.
Good.
All right, number 1, want to say happy 60th birthday to my dear friend, grew up across the street from me. We had more good times than any 2 kids should ever have in their lives. Dave Crotty, 60th birthday. Big party tomorrow night, boys.
Big party.
Close the streets getting in and out of Anderson Township. And make sure the cops have somewhere else to go.
You need me and Casey to create a diversion?
Because it will be on tomorrow night in Anderson Township.
Tom, no one hypes up a party quite like you.
I'm telling you, if you knew this crowd, and this is going to be a big league party. Probably 7,500 people there. My sister is driving all the way in from Chicago to go to this party.
Are you a life of the party guy, or do you just hang out in the corners?
I like visiting with the boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Love visiting with the boys. Just getting back, telling stories of the old days,
Reminiscing.
Kick back. And a big part of that growing up, because my folks had split up, was my mom. Today would have been her 80th birthday. She passed away back in 2005. And, Mom, I miss you every single day. I love you. I know you're in a better place. And one day, good Lord willing, we'll be together again. Box lunch. Here we go. Let's go, men. Right now.
Let's go.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
The worst
microphones.
trade of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country for $3 million. You can't even get Tucker Barnhart for $3 million.
Then I came to realize These guys are funny.
And Justin Fields have identical stats the last 5 weeks about throwing the football. This guy, okay,
And
folks,
are
is a
some of the
fidget
best
spinner.
gamblers I've come to know.
If you're betting on USC and or TCU, let it be known you are a square.
TCU is going to hammer this team tomorrow night.
I hate to hear that.
Tomorrow
When we come back
afternoon.
in here on Monday, you're going to be happy as a lark because USC lost, but you're going to be wrong about TCU.
Get ready for the most useless hour of your day. It's time for Boxed Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Now, Casey, run that track.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one, Casey. That's a winner. This is the most useless hour of your day. It's Box Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. This is the chat show. That's what we do here. Box Lunch. This is where we just get together. We just chat it up, just like the chat does for 2 hours during Off the Bench. And we've got the chat power rankings to bookend the show. There's a bit of a shakeup. Bit of a shakeup. Maybe
I know. I got a preview today, Reed. I was shocked. I just about fell out of my chair when you walked in and you told me about the power rankings today.
When we crafted them, there was a lot of. It was almost like a jury room, right? Me, Paul, Casey, we're getting together where we're putting the chat power rankings. We could not agree. A lot of yelling, a lot of conversing. Eventually, we came together, and we feel pretty confident about this list. And I think you guys are gonna like it. Bit of a change up. Some people were calling for me to get fired earlier in the chat. Mouse Cop, you got to stop trying to get me fired. I need a job here, brother. I mean, I appreciate it, but come on. Come on. Man, Sir Boy Wonder wants Trace. Gosh, am I that bad? Guys, last night, the Bengals took Myles Murphy from Clemson, edge rusher. And I tell you what, wherever you get your pre-draft talk, forget about it. Forget about it. All you need going forward is this guy right here. This guy. Because I called it. I called it yesterday. Said if Myles Murphy is around, they're going to take him. Everyone's like, Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, Bijan Robinson, Gibbs, Myles Murphy, all the way. Me and Paul have just really honed our craft when it comes to pre-draft analysis. I know Casey spends a lot of hours in it. Me and Paul, we just see it clearly. We see the mock drafts. We see the big board. We just see it so very clearly. So when Paul, who do you have them taking in the second round today?
Hold on just a second. I got to get back in the lab real quick.
He's got to get back in the lab.
I got Sam Laporta going today to the Bengals.
Sam Laporta.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, I got Musgraves. So we got a tight end. That's just, you heard it here first. So
we got a tight end. I think that's the most important thing you can take away.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do we think of Myles Murphy? What do we think? Because the whole point that I was making is that you just add depth to that defensive line. You draft in advance. That's what the Bengals did. That's why they drafted a safety last year when they already had 2 safeties. You draft years in advance. You get guys on cheaper contracts, and you start to fold them into the team. You add strength. You add numbers to the defense that's been so good. You let Lou cook. And Myles Murphy is a great addition to that. Just a few months ago, this guy was looked at to be taken in near the top 10. And he fell all the way to 28. I think one of the most telling signs was the Bengals were like, oh, we didn't expect him to fall this far. We were looking elsewhere. Happy he's here. Happy as a lark. Myles Murphy is going to be a Bengal that you remember for the future. And he's not the sexy pick, right? Like the names I mentioned earlier. He's not Michael Mayer. He's not going to be scoring the touchdowns, going deep. He's not going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, who's rushing for 1,000 yards possibly. He's not the sexy pick, but he's a good one. And I feel very confident in that. Casey, I know we talked about it on Off the Bench, but we like this pick, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I think what I said this towards the end of the show on Off the Bench was the chat also seems like majority of them like the pick too. Like it just makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, you get down to it, you start breaking it down. This team was 28th in pressure. They were 28th in sacks. I mean, makes a lot of sense that they would go after a guy that they didn't think would be there at a premium spot and someone that has a lot of potential. I like it a lot. The more and more you sit there and you think about it, and the people that were on the board, it was a no-brainer. And it was, honestly, I think it was the quickest draft pick in the whole draft. The Bengals were the fastest to pick their guy in the whole draft. It was not even a minute, maybe, that they were on the clock. They ran to the podium for that one.
What about the farce that is them patting themselves on the back every draft pick? Like the Carolina Panthers clapping it up in their draft room.
We got our guy.
We got our guy. Didn't think he was going to follow us. Got our guy. And then the fact that they used the entire 10 minutes. And by the way, if you haven't done this already, I highly suggest watching the NFL draft with your parents, someone who's older than you, because they will make the same. It's like, they know who they're going to get. Why are they using all that time? They're using the whole 10 minutes. What are we doing here? It's so much fun because it is true. It is true. Why do they use all that time? They know they're going to get. Sometimes, you know, things get shifted. Your 13th pick, Jahmyr Gibbs got drafted at 12. Ooh, what's going to happen? So sometimes you got to use the full time. But in the first few picks, come on. Why are we using the full clock? It's just so TV can talk about it.
Reed, you brought it up, Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. Can you maybe relate with me? I took the biggest sigh of relief after he was picked at 12. Like, I didn't have to worry about us taking a running back in the first.
It was great.
Oh, man. I was just – all that talk from right before the draft about Jahmyr Gibbs being at 28, that being the pick. Oh, that was just tired. I was tired. I'm so glad he got picked at 12.
So 2 things. One, Jahmyr Gibbs being taken at 12 was funny because for the same thing that I just brought up, they cut to the Lions draft room, and they're all clapping it up, glad hand. I can't believe we got Gibbs. I mean, the guy who was projected like middle second round by some people.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? You're 12th overall pick. Of course you're going to get Jahmyr Gibbs. Second off, BB's ghost, you got to lay it back on me, man. He's getting into my voice. Saying I'm too high pitched, and I do have a high pitched voice. So let me try here. Ready?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. It might just turn into my Thom impersonation. All right, Myles Murphy. that is quite literally. I can't do it.
That's Thom Brennaman.
Thom Brennaman, pride of Middletown. Kyle Schwarber. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is just the NFL in general. The NFL is a drug, guys. I don't know how they do it. But they have the mundane thing as the NFL draft become must-watch television. I don't – everything they do is must-watch. The fact that you are enticed to see what the schedule looks like in a couple of weeks, like I'm anxiously awaiting the Bengals schedule drop. I mean, you know the teams are going to play, but actually how it all divvies out. The first round of the NFL draft, 3 hours locked in, while there's playoff basketball and playoff hockey going on and just baseball games going on, that you're locked in to college kids being selected to their team, haven't even played it down in the NFL, and you're just waiting anxiously for it, and you care. You care where guys go. It is incredible. The wildest thing in the world is all the hate that Roger Goodell gets because, objectively, guys, Roger Goodell is good at his job. The NFL is by far the best product when it comes to professional sports in America. And Roger Goodell is leading the charge. And under Roger Goodell's watch, it has gotten better. It has become more must-watch TV. I don't know how the NFL swindled it, but everything they do is just pure electricity. It's pure entertainment. I don't know. How long? You said you've always been watching the NFL draft, Casey.
Yep.
How long has the NFL had a stranglehold on your life, like it has on mine now, to where everything they put out is I've got to tune in?
Yeah. I want to say it's probably. I want to say since I was 13, 12. I mean, it was very difficult back then to understand the draft process.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, you were looking at, the NFL app and the NFL Network stuff, at least. Nowadays, you have PFF, you've got people that are experts on Twitter. That's a really bad example, but you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of information there now than there wasn't back then. But I would say since I was 13, 14, I was just dialed in. Maybe even younger than that. There's pictures of me when I was like 9, 10 at Bengals stadiums in the freezing cold, just hoodaying it out.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL has got a stranglehold of my life for certain. For certain.
Paul, can you ever imagine a world in which the NFL isn't king in America?
Yeah, I could.
Really?
I don't know if it happens in our lifetime, though. I think eventually, unless the technology catches up to injury-wise.
Oh, you're saying that it could like
people
get quote-unquote canceled.
People someday wake up and go, wait a second, what were we doing here? People were, what? But if the equipment and everything keeps progressing at the rate that it is now to where it becomes a safer game, then no, I don't think so. But eventually, maybe one day we get to a point where I don't know. I just don't see it happening in our lifetime. But eventually, like 300 years from now, there's no way we're going to look back and think that this was a smart thing to do. There's no way.
So as for that topic, so they do a thing where they at practice now, so the padding is on the inside of the hard shell of the helmet. In recent years, they started putting now padding on the outside of the hard shell of the helmet. They do that in practice. They do that in scrimmages, but they don't do it in games. And it seems like a clear-cut answer to, preventing concussions, preventing head trauma. And we're clearly doing it. We clearly see the value in it because we're going to do it at practice. We're going to do it in scrimmages. But we can't hurt the branding. We can't do it in real games because we got to see the tiger stripes, or in college, we've got to see their logos. What are we doing? Just put the padding on the outside of the helmet. You're already doing it. You can still brand the outside of the padding. You can still be Bengal stripes, but protect the players. It just seems too easy. I don't get it. And if you've seen what I'm talking about, they quite literally just put the same padding that's on the inside, they then put almost like a soft pillow on the outside, just to help your brain from rattling around. Anyone who's played football knows that rattle, what it feels like. What are we doing? Seems too easy.
Yeah, I think the way I look at it, I just feel like there are too many opportunities. Like when you think about the NBA, most people who don't follow the NBA religiously, the first thing they think about with the NBA is all of the drama that happens off the court, like with Kyrie, Kevin Durant, James Harden, all these guys, John Morant, all these guys that have so much drama off the court, Dylan Brooks. Has anybody really been following the Lakers? When we have talked about this series on this show, it's been about Dylan Brooks and his comments off the court. We haven't talked as much about what's happening on the court. What the NFL has done is it has perfected the on-field product in a combination of not playing all that many games, so you have to care about every game. But they've also combined that with the off-the-field product being just as good as the on-the-field product, where the NBA has an absolutely incredible, probably the best off-the-court product or off-the-playing surface, but their on-the-court product just hasn't caught up to it. It's incredible, but the entire country hasn't bought in the way that they have. Because, again, it's a little regionalized, and they play a lot of games. When you watch the NFL, every game matters.
I wonder how much the fact that the NFL schedule very clearly mimics a TV schedule, and the fact that you wait for your show at the end of the week. I wonder how much that has to do with just the viewing habits of people, to where, you kind of just think about it all week, and then on Sunday, you get to watch the game. Just like if you're on HBO Max and you're waiting for the next episode of Succession to come out on Sunday night, or whatever they put out, because similar to the NFL, whatever HBO Max puts out on Sundays is crack as well. I can't stop watching.
You know what I've always wondered? If people that do not watch the NFL, and it would be easier to do this in the NFL, but really any sport, somebody that has no clue about sports, doesn't watch the NFL, and they hear the word season, the 2023 season.
Yep.
Do they think to themselves, I got to watch the first 56 seasons to catch up?
Right.
I got to watch all the other seasons and figure out what was going on? I've always wondered that.
That's funny.
You know, somebody that's just getting into it. Oh, I got to watch the first 56. There were so many.
Just wait for like 2000 when
Yeah.
Ray Lewis comes in. Then it gets really
It starts
exciting.
slow.
Yeah,
It
it
starts slow.
out slow.
Yeah.
Out slow. This Joe Namath guy starts talking a lot of crap. Throws a lot of interceptions, but you're gonna like him.
This Dolphins team, if you like defense, the 1985 season was great.
This Dolphins team, you're not gonna believe the ending.
Yeah.
You're not gonna believe it. Love it.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Speaking of subversions from what was supposed to happen, Will Levis did not get drafted in the first round. That is me and Paul's guy.
Yeah.
And listen, these teams are going to rue the day that they didn't draft Will Levis. The guy does three things. He throws dimes. He dates dimes. I don't know if you saw his girlfriend. And he dimes up some mayo in his coffee. We all want glass eaters out on the football field, but would you rather eat glass or mayo in your coffee? Did you guys see this? Homie puts mayonnaise, puts Hellman's in his donut shop blend. That is the quarterback of the future.
Did he ever explain why?
Why do you need to explain why? It's delicious. It looks great.
So I did a little digging into that, and apparently it's a thing.
What do you mean it's a thing?
Like, he wasn't the only one. I saw the fact that there is even more than one person to me is statistically significant. I could not believe what I had seen of people saying, well, the mayo thing, it's not that weird. Like, well, what if you put ketchup in your coffee? Well, the mayo thing, but that's not that weird. And I really tried to make sure that people weren't just joking around. I don't think they were.
The thing about, if you watch the video of him doing it, like, he didn't put like a little bit of sugar and creamer in his coffee. Like, he put a dollop in there. I mean, he put a lot of mayonnaise in his coffee. You guys ever think about what mayonnaise is? Mayonnaise is delicious, but it's literally just oils and eggs, right? Like, it's just like oil and eggs.
I think so.
Disgusting, but delicious at the same time. Will Levis is going to be good in the NFL. Think about the last time a quarterback fell out of the first round. Got drafted early in the second round. He just got paid $250 million. Jalen Hurts heading up the best team in the NFC. Think about the last time that the Bengals got a guy in the second round to quarterback the team. Andrew Dalton. I always called him Andrew. Andy Dalton. He's pretty good for a couple years. I'm just saying. Whoever takes Will Levis is going to win a lot of ball games. And I'm on fire. I called the Myles Murphy pick yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw, Jay Morrison said that he took Myles Murphy in the first round in his mock draft. If you wondered where I got that information from.
That's awesome.
Shouldn't have admitted that.
Well, no, he actually watched the show and then put his mock draft out. So
Okay.
that's exactly where it comes.
He was copying you.
You're right.
Man.
Did I just lose a lot of equity?
Tough. You did. You lost a little equity with me. I thought you had that one. Damn.
Oh, man.
Mason Miller.
All right. So the final thing I'm going to do before the chat power rankings. So the Reds just got a sweep over the Texas Rangers. They're riding high, playing the worst team in Major League Baseball. They're going to go out to Oakland and play the Athletics. Make sure, I'm being dead serious. Okay, this is no shtick or anything. Make sure that you tune in on Sunday for the Nick Lodolo versus Mason Miller matchup. If you haven't seen this Mason Miller guy pitch yet, he is dynamite. I don't know how good of a pitcher he's going to be, but he throws unsolicited gas. I watched him make his debut against the Chicago Cubs, and you can watch this. These are the clip from the Cubs. Go ahead and show this up. I mean, we're talking like more velocity than Hunter Green. 100, first inning. That was his first strikeout. It gets better. That's his family. I always love when they do the family shots.
Gas.
102, guys.
Gas.
He's great.
Gas.
Getting stronger as the game goes on. I'm just making sure that you guys check out that Sunday baseball game between Mason Miller and Nick Lodolo, because he is borderline must-watch TV if you like baseball. Because he's great. And don't lose one of those first two games. You don't want to go in that game 3 Don't want to go in that game 3. The rubber match. Mason Miller. He's the other guy. All right.
Here we go.
Abbreviated show today, and we'll conclude it with the chat power ranking. So, guys, there is an amended to this. We added honorable mentions because we felt like 5 people wasn't enough. So this is where we started arguing. I was saying no honorable mentions, but here's the first honorable mention. We got the real Spirit Cat. We got Brian B., who was in, I believe he was in the chat. He was in the power rankings last week. We also got Casey's best man, Thomas, or Tomas, as Tom likes to call. I also, we talked about this, I think, on the last show. Casey always qualifies Thomas as his best man, which is just great. I hope he does that with everyone he ever meets. Also, in the honorable mention, we've got Alex Wallace, Richard Stites, Chad Waits. Now, Chad, I talked about this on Off the Bench. I can be bribed. You can suck up to me and get in these power rankings, or them too, and you'll get in. Chad Waits, he was hyping me up in the chat earlier today, tweeted me last night. Couldn't quite crack the top 5, but he was close.
Chad Waits is very active on Twitter.
He's very active on Twitter. I love it. Chad Waits is a burner. He is not a burner. He is not my burner. I do have a burner, but I'll never tell you guys who it is. All right, chat power rankings. Coming in at number 5 is Peanut Butter's Ghost. I don't know what PB stands for, but
Paul Brown?
Paul Brown's Ghost. I just imagine it's a peanut butter ghost right there. I love doing these pictures. PB was also getting in me about my voice, so I didn't appreciate that. But still, had a great week. Chimed in a lot, chatted a lot. I appreciated PB's Ghost this week. So that's why we put him in there. Number 4. Got Zachary Murray. Zach Murray, a loyal viewer of Off the Bench and Chatterbox content. I put the Ross Rams head there because you're from Ross. I remember that. Zach, we always have a good back and forth. You always add in just the right comments at the right time. Timing is impeccable. Just a great week overall. I think he got mentioned on Thom's show a few times. Could be wrong about that. But Zach Murray at number 3. This is where it gets a little spicy. The person who constantly wants to get me fired is in at number 3. This is proof. This is proof that the chat power rankings aren't rigged. And by the way, what does that even mean? They're ranked? They're rigged? Yeah, it's our opinion. Of course they're rigged. What I mean, like, do you think we're doing a vote? No, it's our opinion. Of course they're rigged. I don't even know what that means. Player formerly known as Mouse Cop, congratulations on being number 3. Stop trying to get me fired. I need a job.
Can we do a live demotion or
what? Oh, I just spoiled. Fire Reed, we won Trace. Nice. All right, number 2, new to the chat. We already teased it a little bit. OJ's 94 Bronco.
Let's go.
OJ's 94 Bronco, number 2. He came in. He's new. He's new. And he came in hot. Had a great week. I think funniest guy in the chat.
The juice.
The juice is loose. The juice is loose.
Whoa.
94 Bronco at number 2.
He called it rigged, and then he goes, wow, I made the list. LOL.
All right, before we get to number 1, there's an omission from this list. It seems like it's going to be Sir Boy Wonder. It's not. Because Sir Boy wasn't on the show yesterday. Didn't chat in. Also, Sir Boy, you've been in the rankings enough. So we're going to give someone else a chance to be number 1. It's not Leif Erikson either. He did not show up in the chat at all this week. Not even once. So it cannot be Leif Erikson. And I'm done putting me as number 1. That was a funny bit, but we're done with it. Coming in at number 1, I made this before the show today. And he didn't even come in and watch it.
He didn't watch the show today. And he's number 1.
Everett Henry. Number 1. I've called him the compass of the chat before because I really do feel like it. He points us north more often than not. Everett Henry, congratulations on being number 1 in the power rankings this week. All right, I didn't look at the chat very often. What are the general reactions? Mouse Cop loves it. I actually DM'd Everett to make sure to get him on. I DM'd him 30 minutes ago. Say, hey, make sure you're in the chat. No response.
No response. He alphaed you.
He did alpha me.
Man.
Left me on red.
Damn.
Left me on red.
What about Ronnie Smith? Let me ask you this question, Reed.
Yeah.
Because you come in, we kind of workshop this, but in the end, you're the one putting these
Yeah.
rankings together.
Yep.
You ask for feedback, we give it to you. Where can somebody like a Ronnie Smith improve?
Ronnie Smith, he was on it last week. To be quite honest, he should have been in the honorable mention. So, I think consistency, availability is the best ability. You got to be in the chat every day. That's why Sir Boy got kicked out. That's why Leaf isn't in the top 5. He's not here enough. And then I just like to, I just like keeping the chat going, right? Are you mending well with others? Are you trying not to get me fired, even though that got somehow Mouse Cop in the top 3? That was you guys that said you wanted Mouse Cop in there. I didn't want Mouse Cop in the top 5. I think the more jokes, the more comment, the more opinions you put in there, the more feedback, the more likely you are to be in the chat's power rankings. But overall, strongest list yet. I think it's our strongest list. As much as I don't want Mouse Cop to be in the chat power rankings, he has to be because he is such a big voice in the chat. Who chats more than the Mouse Cop? Because he also not only sends one, he sends it 5 times in a row. He quintuples his chats.
So we have a few omissions. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Seth Pryor, Brian B, AJ Worse, a few guys that didn't make the chat or didn't make the rankings this week. Sir Boy Wonder, of course, but he's been in the rankings for a while. But Everett is the leader of men. So is that what we're calling the winner of the chat?
Ooh,
the leader of men?
Leader of men.
Ooh.
I think that's what we should do.
Moderator for a week.
Moderator of men.
Give
No,
him a
we
wrench.
can't do that because
We can't give him a wrench.
We can't do that.
Can't be giving out wrenches.
Can't just be handing out wrenches willy-nilly.
Which is maybe why Leif Erikson hasn't been around. He wants a wrench.
Was interesting.
Well, that's right? Like that he was asking for a wrench and people
Are you
wanted
calling
it.
Leaf demanding?
I think Leaf, he just decided to take his talents out west or something. I don't know. Sail the high seas.
It was draft night too. You'd figured he would have been in here talking about who the Vikings took. Casey's been wearing the Viking helmet.
You would have thought.
It's almost like we're summoning him.
Trying to get him to come back.
No Leaf. Tough. All right. This show is presented by Betfred Sportsbook. If you want a free bet, like if you just want to win one, take the Stars tonight. They win the series out in Minnesota. It's a pick 'em, -110. Guys, any bets?
Do we have to address the Livy Dunn comments in the ticker?
Have you guys checked it out? It's good stuff. Heed to the advice. Heed to the advice of the ticker. That's all I got to say. It's good stuff, guys.
I mean, we just got bets scrolling across the screen, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting here going, am I reading this right?
Yes, I am married, Mouse Cop.
All right.
Any weekend bets other than the Stars?
Casey's going to react to this live.
Ooh, can we put the camera on him? Are we doing this live?
Let's do a live.
Levy Dunn, right?
No.
Livy Dunn.
We are all over the place with this spelling here.
Ooh.
Livvy.
Yep.
DU. There you go.
So Sports Illustrated.
It's on our Instagram page.
Oh, it's on our Instagram page.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I see Olivia Dunn. Is that?
That's her.
That's her.
Okay.
Livy's short for something.
Yeah, right there.
This one right here?
That one right there. You can
Good stuff.
click to the right.
Here.
No, we don't need to put it up.
Well,
Hey,
we
why
might as
not?
well. I mean, make it a little easier for the folks at home to see what we're talking about.
It's good stuff.
There you go.
This is a sports show. She's a national champion or like came in third place. It's Sports Illustrated.
is.
That's the cover of Sports Illustrated right there.
You guys are welcome. Just giving you advice.
Wedding odds shooting up.
That's a fashion statement right there. She's got like foam on her shoulders there, like shoulder pads. You see that?
Yeah, a little bit of foam.
A little foam
Maybe
there.
she's gonna play football. Should we draft her in the 3rd round? Shoulder pads.
Shoulder
Love it.
pads.
Any more weekend bets?
I think we're good.
Where are we
On the
going to
wedding,
lunch
baby.
today?
Where are we going to
Where are
lunch?
we at on the wedding now?
See, the wedding odds are drastically shifting for Casey as that happened. Wedding already happened for me, so those are in the book. That ticket already cashed. But the wedding odds are drastically. Casey, you're the one who put it up there. I just put it in the the crawl.
I was just doing a service to the chat.
Love it. All right, what's for lunch?
All right, that's what I got so far. We need some suggestions. We already got Sonic on there, Mascot. Don't worry. That's always up there. Just for you.
One day we'll hit Sonic.
One day. But today's probably not that day.
Honestly, it probably will be today because I got to go do a Xavier game. So
Who we got?
Seton Hall.
Seton Hall, Pirates.
Seton Hall, the Pirates.
Buccos. But Pirates are hot.
Got to get a
Good
sweep
one.
this week.
Pirates are hot.
Got to sweep this week. Who's Miami have tomorrow Sunday?
They are on the road. I don't know who they play.
No.
The boys.
Softball.
The girls play Central Michigan.
Who?
Softball.
The Chips.
Chippewas. Going to host. Trying to host.
All right, I think that's probably good.
All right, let's do this.
Fire it up. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Out on round 1.
Oh,
Just
no.
like we like it.
Oh man.
Just
We
like
didn't
we
even
like
get
it.
a tease there for Mouse Cop.
Try to tell him.
It is going to be a glorious day when one day that hits. Because we will go.
We ain't gonna go. Don't
Man,
get Mouse Cop's hopes up.
Panda.
I would like some Jollies.
We haven't had Jollies in a while.
Nope. All right.
All right, see you,
There goes
Panda.
Panda.
See you, Panda.
Can't lose now. I like Panda. Man, a foot long from Jollies. Sounds nice.
Oh, Casey's devastated.
Oh no. I mean, we were
What did
gonna-
we went to Burger King the other day, guys?
Yeah.
I like Burger King.
That you
Bro,
pick
that
six
deal was good.
that $6 deal they had? Great.
That's
Chicken
great.
fries, Whopper Jr. Oh, see ya, Jollies. And a drink and a fry.
It's good.
$6.
It's a great deal. Oh, I still have not checked the
Chipotle.
split the pot, by the way.
Oh, let's do that live. Let's see if Casey won the split the pot from the other night. Still hasn't checked his number.
What about the fact that they don't get enough fans, so they have to do like a weekly split the pot? Like they don't do a split the pot every game.
Oh no.
Oh man, I love how we have green on green.
Couldn't end it any better way, right?
I don't love either one of these options, but
Let's see here.
McDonald's.
McDonald's it
Looks like
is.
McDonald's.
That's where I was going anyway.
First off, what are the
1127.
Not even close.
Ah.
Not even close. 108.
All right. Box lunch.
Yeah. Going to Mickey D's for lunch. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Was a good show today. Was good off the bench, and then we just yacked it up as we constantly do. Can't wait for power rankings next week. Got to bring your A game. Got to bring your A game if you want to be in the top 5. That's all I'm saying. Third boy, you can't miss any more days. Sorry you have to work. If you don't want to work, just have Mouse Cop talk to your boss and say, fire him, because that's what he does for me. Guys, this is Box Lunch presented by Betfred Sportsbook. I'm Marine Mouse. Casey McAllister, Paul Fritzner. We'll see you guys on Monday. Go Stars, go Cubbies, and go Bengals.